It's okay. I'm not dying. Episode 118. Red Leaf Retrocast Wrestling. It's fine. God, just had a coughing fit in the intro there. Man. Well, I got water for this one, Ricky. We're back for another.
I'm glad you're not dead.
Yeah, me too. Maybe doing all this housework and inhaling old house dust isn't the best for you.
Did you have it checked for asbestos before you started doing work in the house?
I know there's an old pipe with asbestos on it that's connected to the radiator boiler thing from 1938.
Oh, that's awesome. Guess you're going to have a pro take care of that.
Yeah, maybe in 30 years when it breaks down. Yeah, that's going to be very expensive when that time comes. So, your Devils need to stop losing and maybe play the Leafs more.
You mean stop winning? Because all we do
Did I
is
say
win,
stop losing?
win, no matter what.
Yeah. Between the Bruins and everyone that lives in Rhode Island is all excited for them, and then the Devils hearing from you.
Yeah. So we won 13 games in a row, which tied a franchise record. We lost one, we won two. And as we record right now, it is Monday night. The Devils are losing 2-0 to the Rangers only 5 minutes into the game. So,
there's plenty of game back to make a little comeback there. But yeah, still an awesome start to the season for both the Bruins and Devils. Very, very unexpected, I would say.
Very unexpected. I am obviously thrilled, but I am not totally on board with the fact that the team is actually good yet. Although we do have goaltending, so
yeah, it's very hard to believe.
It's
very hard to believe for quite a few teams to start off the season, like the Vegas Golden Knights. I don't buy it for a second.
Yeah,
I don't buy that the Capitals are as bad as they are, but who knows? It could be a team just breaking down before we know it. Well, on this episode, I went to a GCW show.
Yeah,
saw
you did.
Maki Ito live. Saw a lot of things live. I smelled a lot of things live, unfortunately, as well. Oh my God. New Japan, Stardom had their historic crossover show, X-Over. And Ricky, you watched that.
I did.
I am excited for your thoughts there.
Yeah, okay.
And
I have some.
Oh, excellent. And then I did watch AEW Full Gear, and I have watched 2 matches on Dynamite.
Yay!
I did not. I'm still on my avoid Jeff Jarrett as at all costs rule.
That's fair.
And Full Gear was way better when I just immediately skipped that match because I knew I just couldn't enjoy it. It was impossible for me to enjoy. And then the guy's just all over the show, so I just watch it on like a Friday afternoon before bowling. And just whatever I hear for reviews, I just like, all right, I'll pick that match to watch, and that's it.
Cool.
So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be doing Full Gear. Excited for that.
Awesome. Yeah.
Later in the show, there's more Stardom, more TJPW. TJPW ran their last Cork and Hall show of the year. I have a lot of thoughts over that show, to be honest. I did enjoy it, but I do have thoughts. Stardom ran Stardom and Showcase afterwards, which is always a terrible, terrible, terrible time. Awful. It's one of those things where if a person that wanted to check out Stardom for the first time would catch it, they'd go, "This is stupid, never watching this again."
Oh, no. That's not good.
Yep, it was their 3rd time doing it, and it never fails to be utterly embarrassing. But besides that, the Tag League rolls on, and they had a show before Historic Crossover called Gold. And that was very entertaining. The Gold Rush show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
And back half of the podcast is Retro. Got All Japan Women and WCW Nitro. So one good, one bad. So Tanner continues to join me in the journey through the dying years of WCW, and we are in full Vince Russo mode. It's very painful.
No.
It's very painful.
Oh no. Oh no.
Well then.
So?
I think I should play Maki Ito's music. That way we know
You should.
to go into some TJP, or not TJPW, GCW. Here we go.
Yay.
世界一可愛いのは伊藤ちゃん本当の愛を探すんだ
All right, so I convinced a bowling teammate, Ricky, to go to a wrestling show with me, GCW.
I didn't realize you had a buddy there with you. That's awesome.
I had a buddy, bowling friend. I invited her to wrestling, and she invited me to Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, that's lovely, though.
Yeah, it was my first. I haven't had a Thanksgiving dinner because listen to all these podcasts and they're like, "Oh, what's your favorite Thanksgiving foods?" and all this nonsense, and I just go, I didn't have all that growing up. We went. Family would go fishing in the woods of Arkansas, and we'd catch fish or eat cereal or some shit. And then when I went off to high school in Germany, there's no turkey or anything there. It's not. It's an American holiday, and I was alone, so didn't celebrate it. And it's been it's kind of been like that ever since. So I can't remember the last time I had a true Thanksgiving dinner, and I was the only guest that showed up, which made it awkward in front of an entire family proper, and then me. It's like, hey, how you doing? But
that's so nice, though.
Yeah, it was very nice of them. I had a good time. Watched some American football. But I made them. They asked me what I wanted to watch on TV, and I was like, "World Cup, Brazil's on."
Yep.
And we watched that for a little bit. But
Awesome.
Giants, Cowboys, Brazil winning games in the World Cup. Very nice. And then we went to GCW the weekend prior, in which it was her first ever wrestling show, and she was enamored by the costumes and everything, and she hasn't watched wrestling since probably 2000.
Okay. Yep.
Which would be kind of par for the course with a lot of people.
Yep.
She's like, oh yeah, I liked Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, that whole deal. I go, well, as we're watching this, she goes, they move a lot faster now.
Yeah, they do. Especially, I mean, you were ringside basically for this whole thing. So
yeah, there was a couple times where, for example, in the 4-way match with Deppin, Ninja Mac, Leon Slater, where they just kind of came over the ropes, and I tried to gesture to her to get out of the way. And then finally, it was just I had to shove her to the side. I was like, out of there! And the guy just came
if the action
flipping.
Looks like it's coming your way.
Yeah, so as soon as the action was coming, and then there was another time where I grabbed her and just pulled her out of the way. There was a couple moments like that through the show, so that was wild. But just, it's GCW, so I kind of knew what I was getting into.
Sure.
Know what I'm in for. It's a lot of flipping. It's a lot of just matches thrown together. Weird storyline involving Charles Mason and Alley Catch, which is just very unappealing.
Yeah, so that's right when I tuned in. And so I kind of missed whatever happened there. She was crying or something. I don't really understand what happened.
It was more or less man on woman violence, and then they were trying to make a story out of it, and trying to do things with he's not actually after Alley Catch, he's after Effie, and he handcuffed her to the ropes, beat him down in front of her, made her cry. It was weird. It's definitely not what I'm into, and which is funny because. It's funny because she, the friend, hasn't been exposed to wrestling in any capacity in like 20 years.
Sure.
And between that, I'm just kind of like gauging. I look over to the right and I'm like, I'm gauging, what she thinks. And she's like, it's all fake. Who cares? I was like, oh, all right. There was an old man that came out in like what was it? I want to say it was the semi-main event. It was like a scramble match because of course there is. Oh,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the guy was cutting a promo and he used a gay slur. And
oh yeah, I kind of caught that too. Yeah, continue, please.
So mixed reaction in the crowd, mostly bad. And I like look over and try to gauge, and she goes, "Isn't the objective to piss everyone off?" I go, "Well, there's lines to these things," and he crossed it, and she just goes, "Oh. Well, we hate him, right?" Like,
yes,
well,
yes, we do.
Yes, but it was just kind of interesting that she wasn't offended, but clearly a lot of people were, because you could probably account for at least 75 people that just left during that match because of that incident. And GCW came out and said his pay was taken away, and they were donating it to, I can't remember, but they said they were donating it to some cause, which I guess that's the good move. But yeah. For the main event to lose basically a third of the crowd that was there, because there was probably 300 people there. That one instant cost them a third of their crowd in real time.
Wow.
So that was pretty wild. But from what I could recommend, the main event, Mike Bailey, Jonathan Gresham, very good, 22-minute match. The crowd that stayed, like, it's definitely big props to the two guys in the ring to put together a match in which to get the crowd back into the wrestling match in front of them. It took a little bit. It did take some work. But for them to just change the match structure that they had started, and then they just started chopping the shit out of each other and trying to make as much noise as possible to really get your mind back in the ring. I commend it a lot. It became an excellent match in the end. I gave it a full 3 recommendation. It was the only one on the show. And there's clear levels to these things for major league workers, and then the opening match, GCW workers with like Jordan Oliver and Medeo Extremo and those guys.
Sure. I mean, yes, most of the card is not on the same level as people Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham.
Yeah, and it's very apparent. The other 2 matches I'd recommend: Alec Price defeating Nick Wayne, 14.5 minutes. Not as good. But good. It's good in the sense that these 2 guys are definitely going to be somewhere 2, 3, 4 years from now, and they're just going to keep working hard at it. It's still kind of annoying that I hated Alec Price so much. I didn't see it, and he got legit good. So now I have to eat crow every time he steps in the ring.
Oh, speaking of Alec Price, there was a match on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, on Wrestling Open? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the stipulation and how it ended?
No, but he had a, loser leaves town with Becker or something?
It was a loser leaves town. I believe it was against Channing Thomas. I didn't watch it. I just read the result. But the stipulation was if Alec Price couldn't beat him, he would have to leave Worcester.
Okay.
And never wrestle in Worcester again. And it went to a time limit draw.
Ah, interesting.
So he did not beat him.
No, he did not.
No. Because the stipulation wasn't if you lose, it was if you don't beat me. So technically, Alec Price is not supposed to ever wrestle in Worcester again, but he's scheduled for like 4 or 5 matches over Festival weekend, New Year's Eve weekend. So I don't know what that's about. But I thought that was super interesting.
They'll probably do some story workarounds with that kind of stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I don't know when they have another event outside of Worcester that he can redeem himself. Anyway, in any case, I thought that was interesting.
And of course, Maki Ito losing to Masha Slamovich, 12-minute match. And this I commend because it was in between the Plunder Trios match that it came before it, and then right after was that weird Mason alley catch match that like nobody liked in the building that I could see. But another just I commend the effort by the two wrestlers in the ring that for all of the nonsense that took place before it, for them to just have a little grappling match and the crowd get into it is another feather in the cap to the skill of the workers in the ring. Masha and Maki Ito had a good match with nice little near falls, and it also helps that Nick Gage came out to answer a couple challenges.
Oh, yes.
And Maki Ito's music hits. She
Yes.
comes in the ring. Where's my fucking gang at? It's like, yeah.
Yes. Where's my fucking gang at? So great. So great. So great.
Yeah. So she is in person a dynamic personality, a lot of charisma, really comes across well in the ring.
Sure.
Like what you see is what you get, and a little bit more because of just like even things like the costumes and the gear and how she kind of moves in the ring. It's also like levels to these things, you know. So I had a good time. There was a lot of terrible smells at this show. I cannot express how just god awful and weird so many of these different smells were. And apparently there was quite a few people that went to Full Gear the night before. Okay.
Okay.
There was at least 10, like a whole group, like in front of us, that said they went to Full Gear and then they drove from Newark all the way to this GCW show the next day. So my bet...
It's only like 4 hours, so...
Yes, but my bet is that none of them had showered.
I mean, I don't shower every day.
Well, if you're in a big arena, you've been sweating, and then you're in a car for like 4 hours, and then you go out to drink more... You know, we're looking at some stank on you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It could have been them. It could have been.
No, it was definitely them. it was like Axe body spray and BO, and no amount of spray was going
gross.
to. Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then some people were crop dusting on the way by. We're like, God.
Oh yeah, I saw those tweets from you, and I was just like,
I have
feeling it. I mean, like. Vicariously just feeling bad for you.
I've been to some live wrestling shows quite a few times, and this was I could honestly say this is like the first one where I was like, this is like an unbearable smell at times.
I've never been to an indie show with smells that bad. The first time I went to any wrestling event was Raw in September of 2018. I want to say was my first live wrestling event. And we were just in one of those sections where the people around us just had not showered and could not control their bodily functions. And we had already booked the Jericho cruise for that year. And I was like rethinking the fact that I wanted to be stuck on a cruise ship with a bunch of people like this. But I've never experienced that on the cruise. Even though the joke is always like, bring extra deodorant is always the joke.
Of course, yeah.
You know, the chat groups and everything. But yeah, I've never experienced that at an indie show either. So I'm sorry that happened to you.
It's all right. It's all right. But other than that, I thought, like, this is my second GCW show I've been to. The first one was the Will Ospreay Nick Wayne match in the main event. Yep. That was really good. even though I'm not a fan of the GCW product or anything like that, the going to these shows live is a good time.
Absolutely. Yep. I feel the same way. We don't always go out of our way to watch a lot of GCW unless it's a quote unquote important match. Like we did watch when we were expecting Moxley to drop the belt to Nick Gage. So we watched that. And, other ones where there's, certain people on the card that I'm interested in. But anytime we go to Chicago for all Out, we always make it a point to go to at least one GCW show that weekend because it is an experience when you're there. It's a good time. And GCW crowd, man, they are just something else. Up is down, black is white, right is wrong, heels are faces, faces are heels.
Sort of. Amazing. Sort of. I mean, on this show, there was a lot of things that was very straightforward. You know who the good guys were, you know who the bad guys were. And then there's just a couple instances where you can't really, there was no either or in any case. Anyways, I'm ready to talk some New Japan Stardom. You?
Let's do it.
Okay. I am going to, let's see. Oh, I need Kyrie's music, but instead, do I have Kyrie's music? I don't think I do. Well, I guess I'm just going to have to play Mayu Iwatani's music instead.
Okay, go for it.
New Japan, Stardom, historic X-over. Ariake Arena, 7,102 people. I believe that's damn close to a sellout. And that was a big question going into the show, was how many people were going to be interested in essentially a show about intergender wrestling. And with ironically, New Japan putting on a women's pay-per-view main event before AEW kind of got me a good chuckle.
To be fair, New Japan has been around longer.
Well, they don't have a women's division.
But they don't have women. Something. I know. I was just making a counterpoint.
But anyways, for the record, this show did better than the G1 finals. And it also did better than Dominion, which are two of their biggest non-Wrestle Kingdom shows of the year. And I believe it also did better than Night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that one.
Wow. Okay.
So,
do you think that proves anything about women's wrestling? Or do you think this is kind of a novelty and it sold tickets because it's the first time?
Well, it definitely sold tickets because of the novelty of the first time. It's a very historic show. First time women in the main event, women being showcased on a New Japan show. There was a lot of other factors to drawing the show, such as Keiji Muto was on the show. It's his last run, so a lot of people want to see that. And New Japan Bushi Road, mind you. This was definitely a Bushi Road production. Yes. And they threw a lot into the show to highlight Stardom as much as possible. They want a second product as good as New Japan and want to present it as such. So throwing Keiji Muto on the card is absolutely on purpose. Throwing someone like Shota Umino in a semi-main event against Will Ospreay is on purpose. Things like this. Having Okada, Tanahashi, everyone of note on this card in different forms is to get the most star power on the card to sell the most tickets. And every match felt like it had some sort of canonical backstory to it, which made it a lot more fun. So, Ricky, I'm going to go through the matches, and you give me your thoughts, because I think a lot of the fans already kind of know mine through a lot of them. besides the main event. And I do have a lot of thoughts over the main event. So here we go. 8-man tag started out. It was all LA Dojo versus New Japan Dojo. The Coughlin Connors, Gabriel Kidd, Kevin Knight defeat Kosei Fujita, Oscar Lube, Ryohei Oiwa, and Yuto Nakashima. 9:39. What did you think?
Yep. I didn't have a lot of thoughts on this one. Ooh. I honestly didn't start paying a ton of attention to the show. Like, I started it from the beginning, but I was only kind of half paying attention until maybe the 6-man tag match.
Okay.
So, but I mean, it was a multi-man match. It was, faction warfare, sort of. I think it did its job. I didn't have any, a mind-blowing experience or anything to discuss on that one.
Well, I guess I enjoyed it a lot more. I thought it was... I always like... So the whole point is the LA Dojo kind of beat up the New Japan Dojo like they owed him money. And it came down to my man... And I love this guy, Oscar Lube. He's German. He's he was wrestling in WXW during the pandemic a while. I saw this guy and I was like, he's going to be something. He comes out of the Fale Dojo, and it took like 4 of these dudes to beat him up because he's like legit like 6'9" or something.
Yes, he's a big dude.
He's a big German. I might be over-exaggerating him, but he's from Hamburg. He speaks like he's from Hamburg. I've heard him talk a few times. Keep your eye on Oscar Lube. They spell it E-U-B-E, so I think that's to make it easier for non-German speakers. I think they'll say like Lube. I think that's how. I think that's the presiding how everyone is going to pronounce it is Lube. But it's like Lube instead. But anyways, good match. Pre-show Rumble. Mirai wins with a host of people who got on the card.
Yeah. It did its job. It wasn't too long. It was 20-ish minutes, right? But I didn't think it was overkill. At least it wasn't like... At least it didn't go half an hour.
No.
There were some spots. It was fun. Saw a bunch of women I've never seen before. So,
anyone stand out to you in particular?
I couldn't remember who anybody was. I probably did when I watched it, but I didn't write it down. Okay.
Well, I thought Mirai looked great. She was the first one in. She wins, absolutely on purpose. That's the whole point there.
Yep.
I liked Hazuki being in the match. She had a few eliminations, or maybe only one. But she looked good, and then Saki Kashima, I call her Robert Ory. She always getting them rings, and she got 4 eliminations in a row before giving eliminators.
I remember that.
Yeah, she just goes on a tear. It's very funny. 8-man tag followed, very straightforward here. Chaos defeats House of Torture. Don't think.
But I know you love Dick Togo.
No, I do not. Nope, you take that back. I do not like Dick like that.
I thought you liked Dick Togo.
No, I do not like Dick.
What am I thinking of then? I thought you had a whole thing with Dick Togo. I don't know where my brain is then.
Impossible.
My mistake.
Impossible. Slander. Slanderous Dick.
My mistake. I take it back.
Dick slander.
Rescinded. Comment rescinded. I take it back.
Queen's Quest defeats Donna Del Mundo. Azumi, Lady C, Sai Kamatani took on and defeated Himeka, Mai Sakurai, and Tekla. Who stood out to you? What'd you think?
This is where I did start to pay more attention. I thought everybody looked good here, if I'm remembering correctly. But now I don't remember which team was babyface team.
It's Joshi wrestling. It's just kind of par for the course.
Okay. I remember being pleased with the result. So,
so you're a Queen's Quest fan.
I guess so.
So there was short. Okay, I'll describe these people. There's short, speedy girl.
Okay.
There was tall girl.
Yep.
There was
Yep.
girl with tassels.
Girl with tassels. Yes.
You like girl with tassels?
Girl with tassels.
Okay, so she is the white belt champion. She is a big
Okay.
deal. So that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Good.
All right, so then we got our first intergender match. It is Julia and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on and defeating Shuri and Tom Lawler. Tom does a big dance. He has the God's Eye on his jean shorts. They do a few neat little intergender spots, mimicking each other. That was kind of a theme where a lot of these intergender would mimic the man's spot or even the woman's spot.
Yes. I loved this match. I liked everybody involved. I love watching Zack Sabre Jr. wrestle, and I love watching Tom Lawler wrestle. Then you give me somebody like Julia, who I've maybe seen a little bit of, but I'm not really familiar with. But I know the name, like I know it's somebody I'm supposed to know.
Does she come across as something bigger when she comes out?
Yes, I thought so. Like bigger than I thought she was supposed to, or bigger. Okay.
Like an aura, star power sense.
It was the right amount of fanfare for the level of star that I assumed she was. That's what I thought.
Okay.
I don't know what did you think?
No, that's all I need.
Okay.
I like the finish.
I could be totally wrong. I don't know that. Oh, sorry. I just saw the hockey score.
Okay. Uh-oh. Was it 3-0 now?
No, they tied it. It's 2-2 at the end of the first.
See? Told you. I told you. Worried over nothing. Plenty of time for comebacks. New Jersey Devils. Are the Avs playing right now? No, they probably play later.
Not yet.
Do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was a good spot in here where Tom Lawler sees Julia and Shuri kind of go into blows. Tom Lawler is like, no, my partner is getting beaten up. I have to kind of pull her away. And then they do a couple spots and beat him up, which got a good little pop out of the crowd.
Yep. So again, this crowd was not vocalizing, just clap crowd, which, we're getting so close to the end of it. And we've had some cheering crowds.
Well, here's the thing with that. New Japan announced that I believe the New Beginning show in February is going to have full cheering.
Yes. And I think Wrestle Kingdom is, right?
No, I don't think so. No.
What? I thought they... Oh, damn. Okay.
What's tough is by that time, we're going to be 3 years into clap crowds in Japan.
Yeah.
And even when I watch shows like TJPW, some Joshi Indies, and some other shows where they're even allowed to clap or cheer, it's so ingrained in them now that they're kind of not used to cheering.
Oh.
So you'll get moments where they will break, kind of like on this show a few times, where there's oohs and ahs.
Yeah.
And you get like 5 people kind of cheering. Now, the New Japan Korakuen show that had full cheering, that one was very different and vocalized. I think my theory is until New Japan gets fully back into cheering, that's when the larger wrestling audience is going to start cheering again, and then it'll bleed out into the other promotions where people are actually be comfortable full-on cheering. It's going to take some time. It's very ingrained into the culture now, unfortunately.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But still, on this show, you could hear like audible reactions to a lot of these things that they were doing.
Yes.
It made for a very enjoyable show.
Yeah, I do enjoy, as much as I really hate the clap crowds, and it sucks me out of it a little bit. And that's a little bit why I only kind of half pay attention sometimes. And I get, distracted by my phone or my dog or whatever is happening in my house. I'm supposed to vocalize, and sometimes something so important or funny or exciting happens that they can't help but gasp or ooh, and that I think is really fun.
the team of Natsupoi and Tam Nakano teamed up with Taichi and Kanemaru, defeating the Black Desire team of Momo and Starlight Kid and Dookie and El Desperado. Lots of pageantry to this particular match. Absolutely on purpose. The tandems all gelled very well together, mostly Starlight Kid, El Desperado. And then there was some fun Natsupoi, Tam Nakano mixing up with Taichi kind of situation here. The the Idol team gets away with the win to the Dirty Heels. Yes. There was just a lot of fun interactions. And the whole theme of the show was like a lot of pageantry, a lot of mixture of presentation. It felt like a spectacle of a wrestling show.
It absolutely was. It absolutely was. This show was perfect for me, or someone like me who, all of my experience watching Japanese wrestling is watching New Japan.
Right.
So it was really fun to be able to see these wrestlers who I'd never seen before.
Did it feel like a good introduction type show?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, they made it very clear, like, who their characters were, or like at least kind, a little bit what they're about. I mean, obviously Joshi wrestling gear is very different than Western gear to begin with. So that, plays into, like you were saying, the pageantry and the theatrics and all of that. But the New Japan performances also kind of kept me grounded, and the interactions between the Joshi and the men were just fun. And yeah, this worked for me on like the overall level. I think the show did its part. I mean, it probably was a lot like, people not familiar with New Japan watching the Forbidden Door show with AEW. That's kind of how I felt watching this show. I'm like, here's a whole group of people I've never seen before, and I'm getting to learn what they're about. So, yes, I think they did it right.
Yeah, and I there was, in every single intergender match, the spots got a little bit more creative, and
yeah, I
was always curious to how the men were going to react to the women in the ring. Mm-hmm. What were their reactions going to be? Like, so when the match starts off and Momo Watanabe goes up to Taichi and like kicks him real hard in the thigh, he's like, "What the hell, girl?"
Yeah. Absolutely.
Or they pull Kanemaru out of the ring, and Starlight Kid and Momo start kicking this dude, and he's kind of no-selling it, but he's taking it. Mm-hmm. He's not really fighting back. Natsupoi taking Kanemaru's whiskey and spitting it out. It was really great. There was a bat shot in there to mix in with Dookie and his pipe. Yeah, so there's a lot of just fun interactions that really made sense, and the reactions were really funny. Desperado's the heel, and he's like going after Tam and Natsupoi, and you get and the crowd, man, I wish the crowd would react a little bit more, but when someone like Desperado or Taichi like went up to a woman in the ring, you heard the crowd go, "Whoa." What's going to happen here? But they clearly saved it for one match and one match only, and that was the Tanahashi teaming with Utami against Goto and Micah. Dick Tanahashi on full display here. My God.
Yeah, he's a dick.
The ace of the universe, the biggest babyface in the world, working heel on Micah. It's so funny.
It's pretty great.
Did Utami or Micah have any particular standouts to you in this?
Yeah. So this was one that I was looking forward to, even before the entrances and everything, because obviously Tanahashi and Goto have a history. So I was like, what what's going to happen here? So yeah, I thought, yeah, I don't know. I just keep saying like the same things. Like everybody just looked good and I had a lot of fun. I don't have a lot more insight on that, but
So I was pretty surprised when Tanahashi started working heel in the match, because up to this point, a lot of the men were kind of more or less excited to sell for the women and give them quite a bit. And in Tanahashi's mind, they got to work for it. So Micah at one point fucking takes this dude and hits him with some forearms, and Tanahashi just reacts with the shote right across the face and knocks her down. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
But it got him on the heel side, so then when there was the, shortly after that, there was the kind of crisscross into a comeback, and Micah hits him with a backdrop driver. So it built up to a big spot where she went over in the end. Very cool. And then even prior to that, earlier in the match, you had kind of Goto being held back by the referee, and Tanahashi gets in the ring, puts the boots to Micah with Utami, and then he strikes the ace pose right over her, and then quickly gets out of the ring, and the ref's like, what did you do?
Nothing. Hands up. Nothing. You didn't see anything. I didn't do anything.
So great. And then Utami and Tanahashi win because Goto and Micah must now go back to train under a waterfall to lose some more. United Empire.
They played their guitar.
Yes, they did awkwardly.
It was so bad. Oh, but it was fun.
United Empire beat LIJ. Not much else to say there.
Yes, they did.
Chaos beat the United Empire trio. Muda in the ring sprayed some mist with Great Khan. Sprayed Jeff Cobb.
That was fun.
Muda looks terrible. He's old. He's shitty.
Yeah.
I'm over it.
Well, he's done.
Yeah. Hopefully. And then Will Ospreay defends and defeats the United States title over Shota Umino, 23 minutes, 30 seconds. Look, great match. Ospreay's really good.
Great. I mean, yeah. Ospreay is fantastic. I am not surprised. I don't want to say this the wrong way. I don't want to say he carried Shota to a great match, but obviously he had a lot to do with the match being great. But
yes,
I don't want to take away the hard work from Shota. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to have a bad match with Will Ospreay, is what I was kind of aiming at. Not that Shota didn't work hard and give it his all and look very good coming out of this.
Well, it's still tough because we don't know what a Shota Umino match even looks like still.
Yeah.
He's been in with various opponents and they're all top level. We just don't really have a gauge on who Shota Umino is in the ring yet. We know he can we know he can hang clearly, and that's very important in and of itself, and that's going to be key going forward for Shota Umino. And he's got this built-in thing with Will Ospreay. He got the story with his father refereeing the match, and there's some controversy there. So I like the result. Afterwards, we get the big reveal of Kenny Omega on the screen, challenging Will Ospreay for the U.S. title at Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, what a fucking phenomenal match that should be. I'm very excited. I didn't think it was even possible. Although, since the summer, and even a little before that, with Ospreay and Omega, working various forms of social media and calling each other out in promos and being just total, not heels, but they're going after each other a lot. They were clearly leading to something or wanting something to lead somewhere. And we finally got our answer. It's Wrestle Kingdom. And I proposed, the bigger conversation to me is this the main event? Should this main event Wrestle Kingdom? First time two Gaijin wrestlers, very popular with the New Japan crowd. Is it time to make history in that regard? Or do we keep tradition with the IWGP title on top with Okada and Jay White?
Well, that's the tough call, right? I feel like the world title should be in the main event, but Ospreay Omega is arguably the bigger draw. I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how they book it, because I don't think they're gonna start Wrestle Kingdom with one of those matches either. You know, like a lot of the wrestlers always say, well, if you're not going to main event, you want to be the opening match. They're not going to open Wrestle Kingdom with one of those matches.
New Japan
either,
structures their cards working bottom up.
Yeah,
so it's gonna be semi-main or main. And to me, that's the interesting conversation. We know the match is gonna be good. We're all hyped for it. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy this match is taking place in New Japan. I think it means more, certainly
agree.
over it happening in AEW. And we already saw the interaction in AEW.
Not just that, but I think New Japan is going to get more eyes, and Wrestle Kingdom is going to get more eyes on it this year. I mean, the only reason why I watched my first ever Wrestle Kingdom was Jericho versus Omega.
You would not be the only one, that's for sure.
And now we have Omega versus Ospreay. I think you're going to have tons of AEW fans who only know Kenny Omega from AEW who are going to watch their first Wrestle Kingdom this year.
It's possible. I don't think it's going to nearly reach those heights that Jericho Omega did. That's kind of an enigma on its own. But yeah,
Sure.
I mean, for New Japan, if the goal is to make Wrestle Kingdom an international event again, because they've lost a lot in the last few years with the pandemic, and their popularity internationally has definitely diminished. This is the kind of match that will bring it back to varying degrees. Even just a little bit to get at least the buzz back is I think helpful. And it's an exciting match for us, AEW and New Japan fans. I'm of the mind that if Ospreay is going over, then that has a higher probability of being the main event, because then you get your New Japan guy over, the big star, the big former star of New Japan. Because I think you need the happy ending. Like, you need to go home happy. I have no doubts that Okada... I have some doubts Okada's walking out of Wrestle Kingdom champion or not. I'm not 100% on Okada winning over Jay White.
I'm not.
Especially when it sure seems like the long-term story is Ospreay beating Okada for the championship at Wrestle Kingdom. That seems to be the long way to go. And the reason why I pause on Okada getting back the title at Kingdom in particular this time is they kind of need to establish Jay White as the main eventer, and maybe there's more legs to it. He hasn't really been a frequented champion as of late. And then we'd be on the road for another year-long Okada reign. I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm never opposed to Okada as champion, that's for sure.
Sure.
But to be killing time for a year to get to an endpoint that we see coming, I don't know if I'm into that. I don't know if I'm into that. It's tough to say. That's why I'm also kind of flip-flopping in my head what should main event or not. But I mean, that's the conversation, right?
That is definitely the conversation.
Be talking about that for the next month.
And I was going to say, speaking of killing time for a year, because you know how it's going to end, that leads us to MJF being the new AEW World Champion. We still have the main event of the crossover show to talk about, but
yes. Okay, so the main event, Kairi versus Mayu Iwatani, IWGP Women's title, first of its kind. Looks like the Hashimoto title. 25 and a half minutes this went. I have so many thoughts over the match itself. I thought it was fantastic.
I did too. I knew what Kairi was capable of. And, heard tell and legend of how good she is, but had never witnessed it. So, yeah, this was great. This is phenomenal.
So I went back and forth, and through whether it was business reasons, booking reasons, you name it. I tried to look at it from all sides, and 9 times out of 10, I came to the conclusion Mayu Iwatani should win this thing, right?
Oh, okay.
Well, she's not the part-timer. She's the full-time worker. The domestic audience knows her more. Even like just because Kairi is more known internationally name-wise doesn't mean she'll draw any more to a New Japan audience in the States than Mayu, right?
Okay.
Now, the 10th time I'd come to this conversation was, well, Kairi's been kind of cold since her return, and she was a proven draw in the past for Stardom on a much smaller scale, obviously, but being that she's been out of the limelight for so long, what better way is there to reestablish her star power and importance than becoming the first champion? And also, this is something like I should have come to the conclusion of sooner, is you only have a finite amount of time with her left. You only have so many matches, so Mayu could always win this later, and that's not a problem. With Kairi, because her shelf life is coming to it's so much shorter. Get as much as you can out of her now, and if she lasts longer, then that's, cherry on the icing on the cake kind of deal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, with her match at Gold Rush being so important over the weekend, and then coming in the very next night and putting together this, I think it really reestablished Kairi as the star that she used to be, and she's getting back to that point. And the match got rave reviews. It got all good brownie points with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, excuse me. There are some Joshi fans that are kind of upset that the part-timer has won and has come in, ex-WWE wins the title, etc., etc. Well, Ross Yagawa was still booking this title. It's still his decision. And there was so many factors going into this match that put doubt in a lot of people's minds over who would win. Mayu relinquished the SWA title, which is certainly a function of the IWGP in some form or fashion. So it's like, why would she vacated it unless she was just going to win it? Oh, you've spoiled the results. Well, then Kairi the night before went to a 30-minute draw, losing to draw with Saya Kamatani. So she didn't win, but she didn't lose. So that put in doubts over, well, why would you do that unless she's winning? Well, she didn't lose, so she could still lose this one or win. I thought the road to this point between Mayu and Kairi in particular brought a lot of doubts on both sides of the equation, which that in turn makes for a more exciting match as a fan, because then the result is in doubt. And that's hard to do. That's much harder to do than people give credit for. Who could possibly win at any time. And to me, there was no wrong decision here, which is also a hard thing to get to that point. For Kairi to win, it's look, this match is draped in history of Stardom. That's kind of been a little storyline of the IWGP Women's Tournament here, was the history of Stardom getting to this point. You had Kairi going through Alpha Female, you had Mayu going through kind of a couple rivals on her way to the title, and then for these two to meet in particular, it really puts a good highlight on the promotion, and that's what you wanted. This is going to be a very historic match, and I don't know if it's going to be my match of the year at this point in time, but it's, the more I think about it, the more important this is going to be for women's wrestling in Japan. It could be a game-changing type match. 4.5 stars plus. I don't think it's any question behind that. Very good. thought, and Kairi apparently worked this entire match on an ankle she could barely walk on. It was like sprained or something. Looked horrible.
Wow.
Yeah. So big weekend for Kairi. Hell of a show, and a hell of a result. I really enjoyed this show. I'm gonna be contemplating this show, the 5-star final, Forbidden Door, shows of the year contenders for sure.
Yeah. This was great. Like I said, it for me as someone being newly exposed to the Joshi wrestlers. I think it did everything it was supposed to do. Yeah, I'm on board.
Okay. Looking forward to Wrestle Kingdom. We got a lot to go. Oh, and Tam Nakano came out and challenged for Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, yes.
So the Tam Road goes through Wrestle Kingdom. Very excited.
Yes.
I love that match. Adding to the resume.
Yeah. Speaking of Wrestle Kingdom, I've been trying to decide. I can't. If I watch it live, so I'm supposed. It's a Wednesday. And I'm supposed to go into the office on Wednesdays. I think I'm just calling out sick. I think I'm going to watch it live and call out sick. Normally I plan in advance and I take the time off, but I don't have it this year with the new job. So yeah, it might just be a nap from 8 p.m. to midnight, get up at 12:30, have a cup of coffee, and start Wrestle Kingdom at 1.
I got to work so early. I'd be up by the time the main event starts. So
yeah. So you take the day off?
Not. I mean, if it was closer to a weekend, I probably would. But since it's middle of the week, I'm just gonna watch it on delay. It's fine. I guess I'm not a true fan.
I love the like hype and like preparing for it and like, am I gonna stay up and can I make it the whole time? I don't know. It's like Christmas. It's just like, because it's such a different experience for us here in the States, right? Like,
sure. Well, I'm curious to how the Wrestle Kingdom card is going to be structured, and with the women's match now on there with Tam and Kairi. I mean, if it's third from the top, I think that's a big deal. Because then the match is definitely going to get a lot more time. It kind of tells you that they're placed above the junior division in a weird way.
Yeah, true.
And like to be put in spots, like they have to deliver. And I think Kairi Mayu getting the large reception that it did positively. I think there's a good boat of confidence in Tam and Kairi to go into Wrestle Kingdom, third from the top. And that speaks volumes.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
The other aspect, just for comparison, and I am gonna be curiously making a lot of these pay-per-view comparisons to AEW in terms of New Japan.
Sure. Yeah.
Because AEW's been around for a few years now. They've had the time to develop talent. They certainly have a number of different talent that can put on big matches. And yet, when it comes, I mean, we're going to talk about Full Gear in a second of some stinkers. Let me tell you. But then they had a match with certain talent that rose to the occasion. I will be comparing and contrasting in the future of who kind of delivers in the spots when they're given it to, because that is important. Sure. You got to deliver. Okay. Yeah. Time for AEW. Playing the drop.
Okay.
Okay. Overall thoughts, Full Gear. Look, I said it. I skipped the Jeff Jarrett match, and I watched everything else. I really enjoyed the flow of the pay-per-view, and I thought all of the finishes nailed home exactly the reaction and emotion that they needed to. I thought this was a home run of a pay-per-view.
Yes, this was AEW getting back to pre-all-out form, pre-2022 form, really. I mean, it's been a weird year for AEW. And
Yeah, it felt like that,
this
right? Yeah, I agree.
This felt like, and it was kind of like Forbidden Door, right? Where the build was just kind of like, should we even be excited about this show? On paper, it looks okay. To being probably the best pay-per-view of the year. Like you said, the finishes were right. They all felt right. This felt like...
Yeah, there was one finish I didn't think was right.
Well, but this felt like Tony Khan from a couple of years ago.
It felt closer, for sure.
And there were no big debuts. There were no big returns. I mean, Saraya had her in-ring debut or return or whatever. Yeah. But there were no surprise debuts. There were no surprise returns, which has been a criticism of AEW's pay-per-views, right? Like the only reason why people talk about them are because of those events. There was none of that, and people are still saying this is one of the best pay-per-views of the year. So there we are.
So yeah, big thing is this is a result of the main event, and we'll get to that point. So let's just kind of slam through a lot of these because deep thoughts. I don't really have a lot of deep thoughts. The deep thoughts is along the main event only, essentially.
Sure.
And then a lot of it is kind of just
we'd talk about.
Yeah, and then everything else is kind of just surface level about the match, and I think that's what's kind of holding back AEW in a few other matches. Like,
okay,
I would like to see more results that gain discussion because of their deeper storylines, and
like the results of the trios match,
right? And we'll get to that one. I guess that would be the number the number 2 conversation, and then I guess excuse me, I'm definitely coming down with something bad. But anyways, okay. I'm also doing a lot of talking, so I'm probably not speaking right now, but let's see. 0 Hour. Best Friends.
Oh, yeah.
Danhausen returns, did some stuff. Orange Cassidy Romero defeat the Factory. I don't have much thoughts over that. It's Danhausen made a return. He kicked a guy with teeth.
Well, he made a return, but he debuted his more evil persona. So I think I don't have a lot to say about the match, but I do think it's important that people who only know Danhausen from AEW know why he's very nice and very evil. It's because he started out evil. So yeah, I think that's important. He can pull it out when he needs to now. Now it's not like a...
I'll put it this way. I think since there's only 4 pay-per-views a year, if you get on an AEW pay-per-view, you're a highlighted act. And there needs to be a reason for it. And so what I'm saying is, I would have rather seen something like Orange Cassidy versus Hook. You know, give me more of the Ricky Starks, Brian Cage, Eddie Kingston, Jun Akiyama type matches rather than essentially a Rampage filler match, is what I'm going with.
That's fair. That is fair.
Because there's just too many guys that's important to highlight that you're just not doing.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think you're right. I don't think that match sold pay-per-view buys.
No. Ricky Starks defeated Brian Cage. I thought this was just okay. Right
I thought
result,
it was okay.
Though.
Obviously, the right result. Yep. Yeah.
Eddie Kingston defeats Jun Akiyama. Eddie Kingston cries a lot. He said, "Buy the fucking pay-per-view." Match kicked ass.
This
is a match that would get you to like, hey, maybe I should check this pay-per-view out.
Yeah. And the fact that he took the microphone at the end to sell the pay-per-view and pretended that like he was taking Excalibur's job away. He's like, I did like that he said the match he was most looking forward to was the women's title match. So that was cool. Yeah. So cool watching him, wrestle his idol, hero, whatever. Tugs at your heartstrings. Eddie Kingston always does. His matches always do. So, yeah. Wonderful.
I think this should be the blueprint of 0 Hours going forward. Like this kind of these two matches, this format, and then you have the guy who wins it cuts a promo at the end to sell the pay-per-view. I think that's a good format to have.
It should just be Eddie every time.
Well, hey, I would not mind that. I like Eddie Kingston singles matches in this regard. Jungle Boy Jack Perry defeats Luchasaurus in the steel cage match. Christian Cage pickpockets the ref so they can do a table spot at one point. 18 minutes, 42 seconds. Right result, I felt. And I hope this is the end of the feud until Christian Cage makes his return from injury.
It should be. A lot of people were really high on this match. And I don't know if I just wasn't in the pay-per-view mindset yet or what, but I could not get into this match. I don't know if the story has gone on too long, and so I was no longer invested in the feud.
That's definitely a factor, for sure.
But I think it was in the right place on the card. I think it was a good opening match for the live crowd and for the majority of the pay-per-view audience as well. Just for me, I don't know why. I just could not. I was just like, yeah, it's fine. Like, because I watched the pay-per-view with my partner Jason, and he thought it was a banger of an opener, and it was. It didn't do it for me. I know what you're feeling,
because the feud definitely got way overextended, and I think this would have been better served as a big, like, main event steel cage match on Dynamite. Like, maybe. Shortly after All Out back then.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, anyways, still thought it was cool.
Yes. Not a bad match. I just, for whatever reason, it wasn't for me on the first viewing. I haven't rewatched yet.
And then I think this trios match for the for the trios titles and the return of the Elite, this match should have been absolutely switched with the tag title match, especially with what occurred.
100%.
Still, match was fucking awesome. I loved the Rey Fenix throwing the hammer away, and then as he was about to get hit with the one-winged angel, Pac puts it in his hands, and he gave in, Ricky.
Yep.
He gave in.
Yep.
And the
he
match,
sure did.
Yeah, the match was absolutely phenomenal.
Still baby face though. He's still the reluctant heel, perhaps. Like, Pac is obviously an evil bastard. Pentagon has always been the scariest demonic.
Yeah, he just likes violence.
On the planet.
He's just like, I'll use the hammer.
Right. And Phoenix is just a pure baby face. No, he does wrestle heel a lot with his brother when they're on the heel teams, but I love the dynamic. I do think we are leading towards a breakup of Death Triangle when it comes to the end of this best of 7.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there.
Maybe not at the very end, but yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Death Triangle wins via the shenanigans. Good shenanigans, because it was also a shock result, but in a good way with how it was pulled off. And then it's announced it's a best of 7 series. They announced the entire schedule. Like, it's going to go 7 games, and you see kind of the road to game 7, essentially. If
necessary. Did you catch that January 4th was not on the schedule?
Yes, I did at first, but it didn't.
Because this was before the Wrestle Kingdom match was announced.
Yeah, but I didn't, I noticed that, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together right away.
I didn't either. Nope, me either.
Yeah. So that's something, but, doing a best of 7, I think, is very exciting. I mean, it's going to be cool to see how they go about doing 5 to 7 matches of this. I think it's absolutely going 7 games. But
yeah, especially with the Elite down.
Yeah, Elite went down to nothing. Right? Another good match on Dynamite, along with I'll save the Chris Jericho thoughts for later. But yeah, I like this decision. I think it was a good little shock result, and because of the cheating, we result in something unique that fills up a lot of TV time, and we get to see 6 amazing wrestlers in the ring week in and week out.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
all the matches aren't Dynamite. That I have a problem with. Rampage continues to be just a nothing show that I have no interest in ever watching.
This week, Rampage was better. Even being a recorded show on at 2 p.m. or whatever time it was Eastern. It was better. But you're right. It would have been something if they had put 1 or 2 of those matches on Rampage. I didn't even think of that.
Especially when you're doing, like, Rampage isn't its own sellable show. I mean, I have a lot of issues with if it was Rampage and then they actually had something of substance that fills in another hour and a half, but they don't. They do the dark and elevation matches, which are squash matches essentially, which do nothing.
Yep.
So you're not getting your money's worth as a fan. That's my
right.
And Rampage isn't good enough to elicit that kind of money value either.
Right.
Now you put Death Triangle versus the Elite on Rampage and they go out there for 15-20 minutes. Now we're talking. But they don't do that.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
Okay, so excellent match. 4 stars plus, 3 out of 3 recommendation. No questions asked. Moving on. Jade Cargill struggles with her Chitara outfits from Thundercats as she defeats Nyla Rose in 8 minutes.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. She struggled with her outfit. She struggled with some of her moves. This was fine. She got her belt back.
I'll call it kind of bad. It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it or anything. Like,
no.
They worked in the realm of their skill. And they tried the big near falls. They worked a little faster. It was just a lot of wardrobe issues that held a lot back. Jericho wins the 4-way against Bryan Danielson, Claudio, and Sammy Guevara. This went 21.5 minutes. Little long.
So long.
It was pretty long. It definitely felt like it at times. Very strange having the WWE kind of storytelling with Jericho and Guevara. I could have absolutely done without that. However, Guevara doing a lot of his high spots and getting near falls definitely got the crowd to bite into some near falls. And then having the interactions between Claudio and Danielson just kind of going to blows as equals was cool. And I thought the finish was pretty rad with the double Judas effect and Jericho pinning Claudio.
Yes.
Interesting how now that's leading to a stipulation where if Claudio loses at Final Battle, he has to join the JAS.
Yeah, because Blackpool Combat Club is falling apart.
I think Jericho should win that match.
Yeah,
Claudio becomes an entertainer.
That's what I'm saying, because Blackpool Combat Club is falling apart.
Yeah.
We've got factions falling apart left and right in AEW right now.
Yeah. Did I go full 3? I think I went full 3 on this match still.
This had some, really great storytelling moments with the Sammy and Jericho dynamic, especially. I thought that was phenomenal, the way they, teamed together, then, looked like Sammy was going to turn and then went back. And it was just a little long, but otherwise definitely worth watching. So much fun.
And then what I thought was the worst match on the entire show, Saraya defeats Britt Baker, 13.5 minutes.
How unfortunate.
Good God. It was as bad as I thought it would be. I mean, when you got a match... Okay. We have been...
Here's your soapbox.
Yeah, we have been very critical of Britt Baker in the ring, especially during her title run. where she doesn't live up to expectations in ring. And then when I'm seeing her work against Saraya, whom people think was a good women's wrestler in the mid 2010s, early to mid 2010s.
Yep.
And yes, it's her first match in like 5 years. I don't really see that as much of an excuse at all, because I see wrestlers come back from hiatuses all the time, and they don't look this just slow. They don't look this hesitant. They don't look this... And it wasn't for a lack of her not bumping either. She was clearly doing all the spots and bumps and not afraid to do it. It was literally her offense that was terrible. And to see Britt Baker working circles around this woman kind of made me also realize, and I already kind of knew this, but now it's like in front of me, I'm seeing it with my own two eyes, is if we consider Britt Baker kind of a lower end worker, and then she's pulling this off against, I'll call it the previous generation of American, of like Western women.
She's younger than Britt.
Which is funny, but she's definitely more tenured in the ring than her.
But she's been wrestling since she was 13. Yeah. I'm just saying she's actually younger, a year or two younger. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought the match sucked. And I also think it's the wrong result. I mean, I thought the story heading into the match was absolute trash. Britt Baker was essentially the babyface coming in. She's pro AEW. Sarai pulled the WWE card. You know, you've done nothing. I thought the promos were bad. They didn't like sell me on the match at all. And for Saraya to say those things and then her be absent this whole time, and with the whole neck issues, I think the better story would be she loses and has to work her way up.
Yep.
Because there's been no follow-up with Saraya since.
Right.
And it sure seems like Britt Baker is eyeballing that title a lot.
She sure is.
So I truly believe Britt Baker should have won this match.
I mean, I think you have a strong argument for that. I do think for just, I guess traditionalists, I don't even know what you want to say, bringing Saraya back and having her lose would have been like blasphemous, or just like, you don't do that in wrestling, or some sort of something that would have been the opposite argument, right? If they had gone your way, that would have been the criticism.
Well, you only kind of think that way if you believe there's some superstar and them losing would hurt their star power. I don't think Saraya has that much star power anyways. So her losing, you don't lose anything with her losing.
Yeah. Did you notice in that match they did like the same set of moves 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, because they messed them up over and over again. Yeah.
Spots and then just repeated them. It was not easy to watch.
They had a 7-minute match in them that they went out and had 13. It was
yeah. Yep.
It was bad. It was really bad.
Yes.
I did not like this at all. And it's so wild that I'm saying it's not on Britt Baker.
I know.
And to be fair, I've really liked Britt Baker's work in ring since like about July.
I agree. She's improving and has been improving. I don't know how, because she's not getting the same reps, because she doesn't do indies, because she's a dentist 3 days a week. So I don't know how or why she's actually getting better. That's always been my issue with Britt.
Well, when you're actually athletic, you can do things, and you're getting better at what you're capable of. Things come together.
Yeah, I do think, and she is obviously a smart woman, so she can remember what didn't work and getting the reps, right? But she is learning from previous matches. They just happen to be on TV, I guess.
AEW TNT title 3-way. Joe defeats Wardlow and Hobbs. He's a double champion. I'm okay with this, and I thought the finish was excellent, where Wardlow power bombs Hobbs to death, and then Joe just comes in, titles him, and leaves. I thought the match was very just okay, though.
Yeah, agreed. The match was fine. I was slightly disappointed by the overall quality of the match. But I put on my Samoa Joe shirt for this pay-per-view, not expecting this result at all. I kind of did it, just be like, it's okay, Joe, I still love you, so I was pleasantly surprised. Joe has been my guy since I first started watching wrestling. He's been on, one of my favorites. So love to see it. Now, I don't know where they go from here. The only thing is, I don't know if he's still capable of having great matches. Obviously, he's one of the best talkers out there. His promos are phenomenal. And, we saw him on commentary for a while in WWE while he was injured too. The man knows wrestling and he knows how to talk. I'm a little concerned about this title reign and where it goes.
I guess we'll find out.
Okay.
There was the Jeff Jarrett tag match I skipped. Apparently people liked it. Whatever.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Like, I don't have any problems with Jeff Jarrett because I don't really know who he is. Other than obviously, from reading things, but I've never seen him on television before. I hadn't seen him on television until, oh my God, stupid Ric Flair's last match, was probably the first time I ever saw him in a ring. I think he made a couple random WWE appearances. So yeah, he doesn't have the heat from me that he has from you. And I've been listening to a couple different people and, reading a bunch of different reactions to this pay-per-view. Some people are all aboard the Jeff Jarrett chain. I don't know what that's about.
It's a matter of time. I'm telling you, it's a matter of time. It never fails.
But this didn't have to be on the pay-per-view though. It was fun.
Yeah. It did not. It had no business being here.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't want to lament on a match I didn't watch.
Okay.
Jamie Hayter defeats Toni Storm, officially AEW Women's Champion. Toni Storm's reign is no longer interim. It was official, so that made me real happy.
Yes.
So we have no idea when Thunder Rosa's coming back. She don't want to do no JOB anytime soon, despite her saying all these. But anyway, she's been on Busted Open, just bitching. It's annoying. But Jamie Hayter, Toni Storm, they beat the shit out of each other. They had a straight up match that you'd see in Stardom a few years ago. They're much better wrestlers now. 15 minutes, 16 seconds. I thought the interference, was this the first match with real interference? I think so.
This was the first on the card, yes.
So this is what we talk about all the time with Dynamite and everything, where the people running in all the time is done way too much, and you got to pick your spots with it. So then when Rebel came down and did something to Tony, and Tony kicks out, and then the camera work where Britt Baker comes out of the fucking black abyss from behind, and curb stomps Tony, you're just that was 2 straight times that you're just this is over, what a shit finish. And Tony kicks out, there was a little comeback, and for it to lead to Jamie Hayter essentially winning this title completely in the ring, definitively.
I mean,
it was definitive. It wasn't clean because heel, but definitive. And to me, that was the important part. Did you see the pictures of Toni Storm post this match?
I didn't, but I did see her on Dynamite with 2 black eyes.
Yeah, both eyes are black.
And no makeup. They really did a point to not put too much makeup on her to show what she went through on the pay-per-view.
Yeah, she got her ass kicked.
Actually, So WWE, AEW is really good about getting their superstars to cut promos right. Oh my God, why am I using all this WWE language? Holy fuck, who am I? I watched Survivor Series. That's where I am. I watched War Games. That's why my brain is in that mode.
Bad show, by the way. That
Sorry, excuse me. Let me take a breath. And
Did you see
myself.
that Ronda Rousey Shotzi Blackheart match?
Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad.
It's a worst match of the year contender. Like, holy shit.
Oh yeah, it was really bad. Okay. AEW. AEW is very good about pulling their wrestlers aside right after a big pay-per-view match and having them cut a promo while they're still in their gear, while they're still all bloodied. Yeah. And just like selling how brutal, like we saw a Jungle Boy one, right?
Right,
so
where he's got where his face is all dried up and bloody and everything.
With the dried blood. Yeah.
And that's a Japan thing where they're cutting promos after the match backstage. Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much. And I was hoping we'd get a Tony one, but this where they, had her, sporting the two black eyes with very minimal makeup, I thought was very good.
Yeah, I'm really going to look back on this Tony Storm reign very fondly and look forward to hopefully a second reign sooner rather than later. I would like to see her and Hikaru Shida get another crack at this title. Like, you put the last few champions together, and I'm even going to throw Britt Baker in there because I'm more confident in her since July, as I spoke of prior, where they have now a strong division, and I'm getting more confident in at least their big matches that they could put together a competent. They could put together more competent work to get higher spots on cards. Serena Deeb, Tony Storm, Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, Hikaru Shida, Riho whenever she comes back, hunting unicorns wherever she's at. You have veteran presences of Emi Sakura and Mercedes Martinez. Like, it can be a strong division. It's just too many matches of like Anna Jay against Penelope Ford, like things like that. There needs to be. Have
we ever said Penelope Ford had a bad match? I don't think I'm not saying she's the best woman on the roster. I'm just saying she's consistent.
I need to see more consistency in booking to levels of these things. Is kind of what I'm driving at. And
for sure.
Yeah. So Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm was, I would say, AEW's best women's match this year by a long shot. The only other one that comes to mind with the various Tony Storm matches, of course, but probably Serena Deeb, Mercedes Martinez at Ring of Honor.
Oh, okay. Yes. There is an argument for that.
Yeah. I'd probably say that one's number 2.
Yes. I think it's a clear number 1, though.
I believe there was also Serena Deeb against Thunder Rosa at Revolution. I think that would be number 3.
I'm going to believe you on that because I don't remember.
Yeah. But very happy with this match. I believe on Cage Match, it might be the third or second highest match rated on the show. It's up there.
Let's see. On Cage Match, this has a nearly 8%. It's 7.98.
Fourth best.
The main event had 8. The Ring of Honor World Title 4 by 8.46, and the trios. No. It's 5th best.
Okay, just barely 5th. But good competition there.
But yes. And Cage Match is Cage Match.
I mean, it's just a gauge. That's all it is. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Acclaimed defeats Swerve in Our Glory. Strickland slaps Keith Lee. Keith Lee walks out. It's not the finish that bothers me. It's the fact that it went 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah, and it was in the spot that the trios match should have been.
I vastly dislike structures of that when to get to the crescendo of points like that, I feel like I waste my time a lot of those times.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I totally felt like that this time because the match was good and solid, but it wasn't good enough to warrant 20 minutes. I didn't think it got to that point. So, I'm probably nitpicking here, but on like a 5-hour pay-per-view, that's when it starts getting aggravating a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm looking forward where I think Strickland has had a hell of a year, like in his various roles.
Holy moly. Okay. He is one of my new favorites.
I think he's in my top 20 of wrestlers of the year.
He's in my, obviously I don't keep
you should keep a
mathematical-
spreadsheet. You should keep a spreadsheet next year.
My life is ruled by spreadsheets. I can keep the rest of my wrestling out of my spreadsheets.
No, do it. Come on, spreadsheet crew.
You know I'm an accountant, right?
Come
on. Yeah, so most of my life is run by Excel, not just my work stuff, like everything else in my life. I'm like, ooh, planning a vacation, spreadsheet. Okay. So anyway, I haven't kept one for wrestling or wrestlers. But every time Swerve is on my screen, I get I have emotions. He is so charismatic. First of all,
How
he is
old
just
is he?
35, a little younger, probably 30.
32. Okay, this is a perfect age. I think he's really hitting his stride. This guy, this guy's got it to be the main event. He's got it.
Right? Whatever it is, he has it. I can't say enough about.
I'll put it this way. I don't think Keith Lee has it.
Not the way Swerve does.
Right. And again, levels to these things. He
is just so emotive and funny. He can be serious and he can be funny, and not to mention he's great in ring, really, really good. I want Swerve to have everything. It's no surprise to me when they signed him. I think they said that they could see him having huge crossover appeal. Yeah, I see it too. He is another one of these wrestlers that also has an R&B career, rapper or hip hop of some stylings. I'm not sure. I'm not well versed in the hip hop stylings, but he's involved in some sort of music. Yeah, I think he has all the tools and should be way more famous than he is.
And MJF defeats Jon Moxley, 23 minutes. The big reveal in turn is throwing away the ring when Regal comes down, and then he hands him the brass knuckles, clocks Moxley. This leads to the big, breakup, essentially, of the Blackpool Combat. They're certainly not Blackpool Combat Club anymore.
They are not.
This was the finish I exactly wanted. This was the one I expected. This is where I thought the story was going the entire time. MJF was playing the crowd. He was playing the role with Regal, and Regal came to his side, kind of passing the torch over to MJF.
Sure.
MJF's the perfect heel. He's the perfect heel that you want a long-term title reign on and a big babyface to overcome him. He reminds me of Ric Flair and Roddy Piper more and more every day as a champion. I can't wait to see his first promo. I will make sure I tune in for that on Dynamite, despite my no risk of Jeff Jarrett on TV. And as for the match, I thought it was... I don't think it reached the level of the women's match in particular. I also don't think it reached the level of the trios match. But in terms of the storytelling within the ropes and getting to... Maybe the second ref bump was a little excessive for sure. But again, when you only do it once, then it means more. Mm-hmm. So I thought this was the right result, the right time, getting to the right person. I'm looking forward to it. I really, and now we get MJF against Ricky Starks at Winter's Coming. Again, a match I fully expected. Thank God it's not Ethan. I was very scared. Do not need Ethan.
Okay.
I think more people are going to be into that MJF Ricky Starks match than it lets on, because it's fresh talent at the top.
Oh, I am definitely into Ricky Starks having a title shot. I'm still not sure how I feel about MJF winning at this pay-per-view. The story was right, like how it was accomplished. And I definitely want Jon Moxley to take his fucking vacation. I don't know. So my whole thing has been, and I've said it on the show before, has been MJF needs to carry the belt through the bidding war of 2024. He's going to tease leaving with the belt. So now
it makes you think what the long-term story we missed out on with the Punk situation, but who knows? Well, I mean, that could be something down the road. We don't really know what the end result of Punk is going to be. It's tough to say at this point in time. There's a lot of rumors out there and thoughts, but as of now, like, I hope he doesn't come back personally. I have no more use for Punk personally, but MJF as champion, I think feels right, and the bidding war of 2024. I mean that's gonna lead. That's gonna lead to an interesting 2023, and how long he holds this title. Could he possibly lose it right away, gain it back?
That's my thought. It's either he either has to hold it the whole time, or he has to lose it and get it back. So, I think, but heel champs, man, heel champs are always, like, for long-term champions,
they work.
You have to go with a heel because the babyface has to chase, right? I
mean, it depends on the babyface.
But I could see him holding it for a year, but I don't know that I want that. I don't know. That's why I've been torn. But the correct shenanigans.
They have a lot of options at the top with the MJF there. We're waiting on Adam Cole and Hangman Page to come back from the concussions. That could be 2 weeks. That could be 2 years. We just don't know what the situation is. But there's two guys that can go up against MJF. There's, I like how the Elite is preoccupied with Death Triangle for the foreseeable future, but Kenny Omega is definitely a guy I want to see in the ring with MJF at least once for a huge match.
Okay,
we're getting Ricky Starks, and then there's the obvious Jungle Boy, Jack Perry. I guess Sammy Guevara. I'm kind of over him personally, but can't really do Strickland in MJF, even though that really pops into my mind just because it's two heels.
Garcia and Yuta.
I feel like that's way down the line, though.
Okay.
I think a Dynamite or Rampage match against MJF wouldn't be bad, but that feels like it's far off into the future. Something you'd save for way down the line. But there's a and then you got Moxley. Obviously, you can always do a rematch again. Maybe at Revolution. I don't know. There's a lot of options here. I really like the options of MJF as champion, and that's for a long time to come. You have with him. So Darby Allin, that's another one.
Yeah, true. He does have to go through all the pillars. I do think it's going to be Jack or Darby to take it off him.
Wardlow's owed a big match out of MJF.
Oh, Wardlow is up there too. But I think it has to be one of the other pillars to be the one to take it off him.
We'll see. All right, Ricky. That does it for you and I.
No.
See you next time.
But what? Okay, bye.
呼ばれて飛び出てじゃじゃじゃじゃーんじゃーあやややややややややややややあやないなんだ食いしん坊なんちゃって朝と飛べ飛べには鳥やと飛べず
All right, time to talk some Joshi wrestling. That was Yuka Sakazaki. We got some TJPW and Stardom to talk about. It's kind of your top two women's wrestling promotions. Two good shows, I would say. Before I go in, there is Ice Ribbon news with Yuki Mashiro retiring at Ribbon Mania. Probably going to be facing Suzuki. I guess that's the official match announcement. To my knowledge, there is no Ribbon Mania main event announced yet, and we're a month away. And then in other Ice Ribbon news, their ring announcer and commentator, they're also leaving the company at the end. So Ice Ribbon continues to cut talent and continues to be on the downswing yet again. Guys, be worried. Be worried about Ice Ribbon. It continues on. The Sariano experiment is not working. And it's not a shock as to why, as I've kind of gone over that multiple times on this podcast. And it's really sad because I really, really enjoyed Ice Ribbon once upon a time. And it's just a product, I guess, of what has occurred over time. The pandemic really hurt them. Then Arisa Nakajima's trying to make a comeback for the end of the year. I guess we'll see what happens with that and Hiroyo Matsumoto. And then Marvelous is doing their one-day tournament, just like Seedling. Scott E. put out an article over Voices of Wrestling. Don't quite agree with it. I believe he got it from me that Chikayo Nagashima is probably the odds-on favorite to win. We'll see if Marvelous does indeed pull the trigger on trying to make a new star, rather than just wait till Takumi comes back. And honestly, it doesn't look like Unagi Sayaka is going to get any sort of credibility on the indie scene. She's trying to get herself over on these various shows, and essentially the veterans and the olds are just beating her up. And that's what's happening there. We'll see what they do. We'll see if Marvelous kind of changes their tune about her. But, if that Diana number is any indication that she can be much bigger. But regardless, let's get into this TJPW show. Korakuen Hall, 657 in attendance. And my first instinct was, this is not a good number. They're doing half capacity. I thought with a Yuka Sakazaki title reign and kind of a stacked card that this is with a Miyu Yamashita title match, and with her winning the Eve title and a Princess Tag Team title match along with the Yuka main event, I thought this could sleepwalk into getting at least the 700, but it was kind of immediately put to my attention that TJPW Korakuen Hall has not had the greatest of numbers throughout the year. Now, yes, they are much more consistent, and they obviously run more than all the other promotions not named Stardom. But if we go back to, let's see here, Positive Chain in February, 536, Additional Attack in June, 525, the Princess Cup Finals, 551. So they've been kind of stuck at this little 550 number with a plus minus every now and again, but that's kind of just where they've been at. So a 657 getting an extra 100 people into the hall with the Gaijins in these title matches here. It gets me more thinking about the booking of the promotion and how stale it is, and having even fresh new talent come kind of gains a little bit more interest. And even if I go by the cage match numbers here, by how many people have just voted, I know loose metric in of itself, but it's still something we can kind of point to, that the interaction with the promotion is much higher than it has been in months, at least since the Miyu Watanabe Princess Cup run. Ever since then, it's just been on the back burner for TJPW with not a lot of buzz. But let's get into the show. I thought the show was good. I wish Suzume defeats Yoshiko Hasegawa. I spoke about Yoshiko Hasegawa in the past. I think there's something there with her, and I wish she would be more frequent in TJPW over the basement indie that is Gambare, that does absolutely nothing. I think she would have a lot more upside with TJPW and being a team of like something with Mahio Kiryu or even now Kaukada and Yuki Kamafuku. There could be something there with a little group like that. And even trying something with the singles run. I think she's definitely up there for potential, even though she is up in age for how much use they get out of her. I think they can at least utilize her in more roles like this that we saw against Suzume here. There was a Hyper Misao Shoko handicap match, nothing worth talking about there. Daydream, Miyu Watanabe and Rika Tatsumi kind of hanging out in the undercard, having a good little match with Yuri Nagano and Moka Miyamoto. I like this tag team of Moka and Yuri here. 13 minutes is exactly what they need to further both of their development, and against a team like Miyu and Rika does wonders. I just wish that on a card like this, or there's more importance given to some of these matches, or at least a sense of direction rather than leaving it up to the fans for headcanon. And that kind of goes into the next match as well with Mizuki against Arisu Endo, which went 10 minutes. Good match. I went 2 out of 3 on it. Very solid. If you wanted to come to me and say this was the best match of the show, I would be hesitant to argue because it was that good. And again, more kind of TJPW fandom headcanon is this sets up Mizuki for a possible title match post-January, but defeating a rookie that doesn't have a single win doesn't prove anything to me or any sort of story, but by the booking patterns of Coda and TJPW, that's kind of exactly what they do. I mean, we point to kind of Shoko just in January this year beating Hyper Misao in the singles match, and that's what got her the title. It's very weak a booking for heating up opponents, and I think that's one aspect of what holds TJPW back from further growth. Naoka Okada, Yuki Kamafuku defeat Hikari Noa and Maki Ito 13 minutes. I'm a broken record here with where they see certain wrestlers on this card. This match is no different. Hikari Noa is in the doghouse in this promotion. I don't know what their direction is with her, what trajectory, but it certainly isn't up. She's ever since she lost the international title and then took that just squash beating by Hikaru Shida, she's just been in the mud since then. And Maki Ito has just been on the losing end over and over and over again. You can point to the international title run as something, but they didn't do anything with that. They didn't feature her. It was merely a placeholder to go. She's doing more things abroad right now, and that's just kind of where her trade is at. Then we get to the crux of the card, the heat, the meat, It's Miyu Yamashita, the new Eve champion. I still can't get over that booking over an Eve. But TJPW, I guess, pulled some strings, and Eve went along with it. Where, look, they don't really run after Queendom anyways, so their title in TJPW is fine, at least in sense of what it means to them. And for TJPW, it gets big Miyu Yamashita stakes singles matches on their cards now, and that in itself could point to some further interest. And her and Millie McKenzie went almost 14 minutes. God, I wish Millie McKenzie would get better gear. I really do. And I really wish Millie McKenzie would expand her offense. Every time I see her, it's just spears and suplexes, and it's been that way for just years and years and years. She has gotten better in kind of presence and ring movement and those kind of aspects. You can easily see that with just the flow and pace of matches. But in terms of just the moves and work in the ring, we need to expand this with her. And Miyu Yamashita, she does put her away, which is kind of funny because she puts her away with the skull kick and crash rabbit heat. So it took all that she had to put away Millie McKenzie. And whenever I see results like this, the same thing with Yuka in the main event, with how other roster members get wins over Miyu and Yuka and Shoko, it's never the definitive win that fans want, nor do the wrestlers need to be pushed up the card further. You know, you can only get so high with fluke wins, you know? And it's things like defeating people with your best moves also has some credibility to it. We can point to Yuka defeating Miyu in the Princess Cup final with the merry-go-round instead of the magical girl splash. I suppose Billy Starks also suffered the same fate, but that's a different conversation that I'll get to in a second here. But regardless, Miyu and Millie, I think they had the best of their trilogy here. I think in terms of strength of match, I would put this one first. I'd put their match in Spain second, and then their match in Eve third, a distant third. At that, Saki Kai, Yuki Arai, they defeat Palm and Yuki Aino almost 15 minutes. Too long for a match that Yuki Aino had to carry the workload for two people. It was supposed to be Raku, but she's out, Palm's in. This title reign has just been terrible. They have given Saki Kai and Yuki Arai just crap opponents, crap tag teams, over and over again, and it's not going to get any better. I'm not a fan of the ring game of Heidi Howitzer. Maxine Paler's hit and miss, mostly miss. It all depends on environment and strength of match. Maybe they can put something together as a tag team better, but those are the next opponents. That's going to happen at January 4th. It wouldn't shock me if they win. I sure get the feeling from TJPW that they don't want Saki Kai and Yuki Arai to beat credible tag teams like Daydream and the like. Especially not the Magical Sugar Rabbits either. So where do we go from there with this team if not trying to defeat better teams? So I guess we'll find out come January 4th. And then the main event, Yuka Sakazaki, Billy Starks, just under 15 minutes. Billy Starks still just doesn't have it. You hope to see the potential kind of live up to where people see her at. This was definitely a Yuka carry job. She did make Billy look very competent, very good at times in the match. I think I'll go like 1 or 2 out of 3. Haven't quite decided yet, but Billy's got her indie moves. She likes the big apron spot. She likes her couple Germans. The best I continue to say that I've seen Billy Starks was the match against Kimberly in Beyond Wrestling. I did see it live, so there is a factor there. But when there's a sense of keeping the match short and concise with Billy Starks, that's the best environment for her to learn. And yes, this is a great match for Billy Starks to learn and get better for the future, but clearly as I spoke to kind of the preview of this card and my worry, she shouldn't be in this exact position yet. You know, not in a pop title match, main event, Cork and Hall, but clearly had a lot of interest. She doesn't have the wrestler in her yet, is what I'm going at. But post-match, Miyu Yamashita comes out to challenge Yuka Sakazaki, and jokingly, Yuka denies her until Miyu rambles off a list of various sweets and treats to bribe her into accepting. Gets to cream puffs or some shit, and Yuka goes, all right, fine. January 4th, Miyu Yamashita against Yuka Sakazaki. Fuck me. I'm so sick of these matches. Like, it's gonna be good, I guess, but could Miyu win? Sure, I don't know. Could Yuka retain? Sure, who cares? It's like a get through January 4th thing. They're running full capacity. I believe there's going to be cheering at it. We'll see if they eclipse. I mean, it's the biggest wrestling weekend in Japan. Like that week span. You know, New Year's and the week after. That is when you're going to get the most people watching wrestling in Tokyo, right? And going to all these shows. You know, I'm not expecting, 1,500 sellout kind of situation here, but I'll have to look back at their last few capacity, or not, full capacity January 4th that they did, but they were on an upward trajectory until COVID. We'll see if they can continue that trend and see if that Miyu, Yuka, and then that weird tag title match does anything. God help me if they do another Shoko Hyper Misao match as the annual tradition, but we'll see what TJPW is doing. Despite my criticisms and everything, I vastly enjoyed this show outside of the tag team title match. There were a lot of strong matches and in development. I just want to see more stakes and purpose to how they run these cards and build people up accordingly. I want to see them utilized in higher roles and a little bit more cycling in and out. I'll move on to Stardom, where I will play... Ooh, who do I want to play? I haven't played Momo in a while. We'll do that. All right, so before I rush through Gold Rush here and give some loose thoughts, Stardom and Showcase Volume 3 happened. I caught the last 3 matches. I woke up in the middle of the night, threw it on, did not enjoy it. I hate these shows so much. I think they're shindy nonsense. Cannot recommend, and they didn't even reveal who the Grim Reaper was in the end, so just continue NSA and the prominence little hardcore matches on the shows are now repetitive. They have the same formula for what shows they're going to do. It's nonsense. Skip them. And people are watching them less and less, and they're getting worse and worse a long time. Maybe this last one was the least egregious because there was less matches to get mad about, but regardless, let's get on to Gold Rush here, which took place the day before Historic X-Over. This took place at the Edion in Osaka, 1,600 people. So, on one hand, this is a good number in terms of Stardom running outside Tokyo. I believe it's one of their highest. And on the other hand, if we compare to, say, like Dragongate or Noah, they cracked 2,000 for their shows outside Tokyo, and the Osaka, I believe Dragongate just got 2,200 for their latest one, but you can kind of point to the difference in how the two companies operate and run, where Dragongate only has 5 to 7 shows a year that's going to have a chance at cracking above 1,500 people, while Stardom has had countless shows with the opportunities to crack 1,500. So maybe there's a spreading of tickets, and maybe you can point to possibly the historic crossover show affecting these ticket sales. You would have had more people from Tokyo go out to Osaka that weekend. There's a number of factors to consider, but I would consider this number okay. I personally want to see the continued growth outside of Tokyo, and 1,600 is not a failure by any means, to make that clear. Azumi defeats Momoko Hanazono in an 8-minute high-speed title match, with the first 5 minutes being bubble shenanigans. I guess I chuckled a little bit, but then the last 3 minutes were good and solid, and I wish kind of the full 8 minutes was that, instead of the whole running around and comedy nonsense. I don't know. 1 out of 3 is what I ended up with. Not very good because of the comedy. And so many Azumi matches just delve into what seems like childish hijinks way too often. Save that for the house shows. We're on a major show in Osaka. Let's not do bubble shtick. Let's do actual wrestling. We had the couple Moneyball semifinal matches, which were good little trios matches. No harm done. They serve a purpose. They got in and out in 8 to 10 minutes. DDM defeats the Cosmic Angels team, and Stars defeats the God's Eye team. Solid stuff. I don't think there's any reason to go in depth on that one. And then the Black Desire team defeated Death and Saki Kashima in a 5-minute match. Again, something you would see on a house show, just happen to have tag league stakes involved. And since we're on the subject of tag league, since I got my 65-inch QLED TV on the wall, I have thrown on tag league just kind of in the background, threw it up on that TV. I'm working on stuff in the basement, doing housework, man stuff. And look, Tag League's nice. It's a nice little house show. I kind of stick to the matches I want to see, and they're exactly what you would think. It's like, ooh, here's DDM against, I don't know, Karate Brave, and you go, that's going to be good. I'm going to watch that. I am a little baffled on why exactly Ruaka and Natsuko Tora are doing so well in the tournament as a team that I see with no credibility. But clearly there's an objective there to get them over as a fresh new tag team that serves a purpose, and I think I'd vastly prefer that over a singles run from either wrestler. But I like the tag division in Stardom, and I don't need kind of mid to lower tier tag teams kind of challenging like that. It's kind of goes into that TJPW thing of why Pam Harajuku is even in the situation of a tag title match when you could have so many better people getting those sorts of opportunities on the upper ends of the cards. DDM, Maika and Himeka, Mai Hime, defeating Nanai Takahashi and YUU 14 minutes. When they were throwing lariats and running at each other hard, that was cool. I did enjoy that. But as does so many of these NSA matches, it comes down to Nanai Takahashi hobbling in the ring, not being able to work the way she did in years past. She's slow, and of course I'm shocked she got rolled up nonetheless, but of course she got rolled up. There's this NSA group is such a black cloud and albatross on Stardom. They just don't fit. The booking's obnoxious. The work is weird, and they come out dressed as like shindy goofballs. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. Now, that said, the match was fine. And then we get to the crux of the card here. Sai Kamitani Kairi, 30-minute draw. I adored this. I thought they worked at a well thought out pace. Kairi went into this with an injured ankle. She got in training. It would look like a bad sprain. And for her to come out of this weekend the way she did, I am all in on the Kairi train. This is what I wanted and needed out of her as a fan and someone who pays attention to the business end of Joshi wrestling. And Sai Kamatani, I think this gives her a little bit more confidence. You know, she didn't win, but she didn't lose the title. I think that was important. And for all the booking, questioning, and how they were getting in and out of the Kairi going into crossover as Wonder Stardom champion or not, coming in with a win or a loss, the draw makes so much sense. It makes sense in the fact that we lost out of the match previously because Kairi's absence of COVID. So now we've promised the fans and delivered the match that we all wanted. And this result brought in a coin flip doubt to the historic crossover match with Mayu, going along with her relinquishing the SWA title for her own personal goal of concentrating on a much bigger prize. I loved all that. I thought the booking of this was tremendous, and I thought it treated the fans with respect. And we got a hell of a match out of this with Sai Kamatani hitting the Firebird Splash. They're going to tell a good story with this Phoenix Splash. And the next time she hits it, well, you know what? I'm going to say it right now. I predict she's going to go for that Phoenix Splash, and that's when she's going to miss and lose the title. They're going to make a big story out of that, and I can't wait. And this was a big match for Kairi for a vote of confidence in her going forward. 4 stars plus kind of deal. I got to figure out where it's going to lie in my top 5 matches of the year for Stardom. Maybe top 7, but the next match eclipsed that, and I could not believe my eyes. So, Shuri defeats Utami Hayashishita in 28 minutes, World of Stardom title. It has a 9.25 on Cage Match. It's, I think, minus the epic drama of the end game that their double draw knockout match had, this one, in-ring wise, may have eclipsed it. That's how good it was. I think it's their second best match with each other. And this is just a phenomenal example of why I think a lot of wrestling podcasts and wrestling analysts out there are simply working themselves up way too much and worried about, I don't believe the challenger. Okay? If you believe in the wrestler and you want to see them succeed in the match, like in their performance, then that's first and foremost, to me, the most important. Okay? Like in TJPW, did anyone believe Millie McKenzie and Billy Starks were going to win those titles? Did anyone believe Pam Harajuku was going to win the tag titles? No. But if you ask yourself, well, did I have a good time watching it? Did I believe in the wrestlers, in their performance? And did they do a good enough job entertaining me? If the answer is yes, then that's what we got here as well. And that's why I enjoyed that show. And I do have my reservations over other things that wasn't kind of the match situation and why that was booked the way it was. With Utami Shuri, the match was phenomenal. In kayfabe of their own story together, Utami could beat Shuri. She beat her in the 5-star. Got rid of that cloud hanging over her about Shuri. She wants the big match at Queendom at year end. And this kind of coincided in that time frame when she won the title in the first place over Mayu. So there's plenty of stories there. You can kind of put the puzzle pieces together. And it added a lot to this show. This Gold Rush show in Osaka, I thought, like, way over-delivered. I thought it... I really enjoy Stardom running like this because it keeps us talking, it keeps us interested, And it's matches like these that build the legacy of our favorite wrestlers. Because otherwise, all we see are these house shows, and when we're looking at a wrestler's career, we wish that they wrestled someone more than once every 4 years. And I know that may sound a little bit hypocritical with the whole Yuka Sakazaki Miyu Yamashita thing, and me being tired of that, but the difference is that Shuri and Utami have had a wide variety of opponents in between their big matches like this. You know, Utami had the World Climax match against Saya, and then she has the 5-star. She has all these big matches in between, so by the time we revisit Shuri here, for example, or Micah down the line, we're adding to their legacy, we're adding to their rivalry, and we're getting more out of it. We can't wait for the next one. While Yuka and Miyu, they don't have enough opponents in between their own matches. It just always seems that's only who they're allowed to face in big matches. That's the difference. This was phenomenal. Go watch it. It's a full 3. It's without question. Back-to-back, just great matches. And then the Moneyball Tournament Final. Stars wins the money over DDM. Love the gear choices here. Look, if you're going to do your wacky Stardom and Showcase things, we're already doing it in matches like this with the fun stipulations and having purpose to various shows. Like this is the line right here. And even then in this match, excuse me, like Hazuki does a drop kick into Julian the ladder and crashes into the ball, and the ball falls apart. And the ref just goes, let's just go for the half left up there. And there's it's like a pirate chest exploding with crowns and doubloons and everything inside. Is very wacky. And they had a good match out of it, but it was only 10 minutes. You know, it was no like 15, 20-minute affair. So I don't know, 1 out of 3. They worked hard, I guess, but certainly didn't feel like a main event, if you know what I mean. I felt like we reached our peak with the 2 Wonder and World Stardom title matches here. But a stacked card nonetheless. I liked Gold Rush, and I look forward to the end of Tag League and going through December here as we finish out the year in Stardom. Very, very exciting. I like talking about these things. All Japan Women Destiny Time, episode 81. Here we are in the classics, and we've gotten to yet another Wrestlemarinepiad show, and this one's in 1993, October 9th, 1993, from Chiba, Japan, at the Tokyo Bay NK Hall. Now, they only got like half capacity to this thing, and there's a lot of theories that I read about why that was the case. And the fact that I can point to is the sheer amount of wrestling going on in Japan right now, and how hot the business is, and just the allocation of tickets are going to just so many different companies, and it's tough for kind of the second, third, fourth tier promotions to kind of break through and get an upper capacity type attendance. There's a lot more to it, obviously, but that was kind of the one thing that stuck out to me. I mean, even during this week, at the beginning of October here in 93, there was like 2 promotions that popped up doing various UWF things, ideas, knockoffs. I think Fujiwara had another promotion kind of go up and down. There's a lot of competition out there, and the spreading of talent is real. But in terms of All Japan Women, they're running a lot of shows. They're running a lot of ambitious schedules. The injury, the injury list is just piling on, which is leading to more and more matches for interpromotional. And this is two things, because I vaguely wrote about this section in the Rossio Gauda the Hall of Fame article over on Voices of Wrestling, where I briefly mentioned the carny schedule that the Matsunagas essentially forced their workers to do, because in their mind, more events equal more tickets, instead of setting up kind of a more rounded schedule that we kind of, if you want to do it, here's an easier comparison. Compare this schedule where they're doing 200-300 dates a year, very much in the realms of running, 5 days a week kind of situation, as opposed to modern day Stardom, where they run every weekend and then maybe a show here or there on a Monday or Wednesday or something or another. Much more manageable, much easier on the workers' bodies, and the list kind of goes on from there. Now, even during this time in 93, AJW's hot right now, but it's not, like, the numbers don't translate to how hot the promotion is because of these just massive amount of date schedules. If we look back to the LLPW crossover show that we just did on the previous episode here, where if you read something like the Wrestling Observer, the objective of trying to keep the company hot and talking and in the news are these interpromotional shows, but unless you have actual matches with real stakes, then that's where the interest wanes. And I think that has a lot of merit. I really do. However, I think it also has to do with the promotion you're working with having some credibility. And there's one person that clearly has a lot of credibility and is growing to it, and that's Shinobu Kandori. And as I go through LLPW itself, over on the Patreon, patreon.com/RedLeafRetrocast LLPW reviews, Kandori she's hit and miss, and she doesn't quite show what we see here on this show often enough, I feel, especially in the realm of LLPW. So this Tokyo Bay NK Hall show, Wrestlemarinepiad, this should be one of their biggest shows of the year. They've already ran the Dream Slam shows. They've ran Legacy of Queens. I mean, this is their most successful year from a business perspective, even more so than how they were able to run shows during the Beauty Pair era and the Crush Gal era, if we're comparing the two, which I think is interesting. The other interesting aspect I was looking into was the concept of ticket sales to stadium size. And that really got me thinking of a number of different aspects of why you do this. And it was brought up in the Discord by a guy named Max. Brings up a good point over just when you look at a company in general, such as TJPW, where they're clearly too big for like a Shinkiba first string Shinjuku face, but they're not big enough to run something larger than Korakuen. You're in this weird middle place, and then when I started thinking about that, looking into kind of how they allocate ticket sales, I can kind of point to old weekly wrestling type articles and the like from even my LLPW and AJW show reviews here, where what Stardom's doing is they're clearly bigger than Korakuen, I think, but they're not big enough to run like Osaka-jo Hall and stuff. However, if we look at Japan and even a lot of the United States here, the prospect of like middle-size arenas isn't as easy to get as one would think. You know, how many 2,000 to 3,000 size arenas are there? I mean, there's minor league baseball stadiums, but a wrestling show's not going to run out of that. You know, you gotta have seating and inside type prospects, and the same kind of functions with Japan. How many volleyball, and we've seen this with Stardom in the outside cities of Tokyo. How many like volleyball and smaller end basketball arenas are there? How many ballrooms that you can get maybe that 800 to 3,000 range? These are the venues you should seek out. In between you wanting to run a bigger venue every now and again, and how do you make up that cost? Well, the cost is made up in the premium ticket sales, whether that's your front row, special sections, or perk sections. You try to make up that money difference that you're not going to get filling the arena with giving higher paying customers more opportunities to spend money on a variety of different aspects. And I can even point to the Dream Slam show, and I found some evidence of this Tokyo Bay NK Hall show with various high-end merchandise sales and special features that they were running before the show to make up for essentially not being able to get, 4,000 or 5,000 extra people in there. The tickets were expensive in the front, and even the LLPW show, which I believe I referenced in the last episode, maybe it was 2 episodes ago, where LLPW are going to run later in '93 here the Hokuto Rumi Kazuma hair match. That those tickets are very high priced, and they're making it a must go to see premium event essentially. And we can point to other companies that are doing this even this year in 2022, WWE and AEW, where, yes, they're getting like 2,000 less people into an arena, but the tickets are twice as expensive, so you're actually making more money on it. It's very fascinating. That cuts out a lot of people going to the shows, but it does have a weird effect on the human psyche where if you make your show seem like it's trendy or more expensive / exclusive, then you need to be a part of it. You need to have it situation. All of that kind of rumbles around why AJW in '93 is running the way they are, and that's the mentality behind it. And you can kind of point to modern Stardom running in the same mental capacity in that sense. So injury updates prior to the show. Bat Yoshinaga went down having a knee operation and will be out indefinitely. So I think we can presume torn ACL here. I was not able to confirm what kind of knee injury, but in the early 90s, this was basically a career ender for many. On top of her neck issues, Bat is effectively done from here. Hasegawa is still battling neck issues, but her shoulder seems to be holding up for whatever that's worth. And then Hokuto was on crutches leading up to the day of this show, literally the day of, and we will hear later, but she made the main event a non-title situation of her own accord due to her injuries, and because that would affect the integrity of the title situation. Obviously, there's a lot more injury lists that we've gone through over the course of '93, and even last year in '92, with like Bison Kimura and Mariko Yoshida, among others. Very, very... there's a lot of things going on right now in the injury list. But epic DVD start to this one, featuring rockin' music and showing the entrances of all the wrestlers on the cards. The arena set is very 1980s with the big light brights kind of situation surrounding the scaffolding in the entryway. White lights surrounded by changing colors. Complete with stairs. Didn't see anyone trip down them, but would be funny nonetheless. Then cuts to a lot of photo shoots of the various wrestlers and brief getting ready for the show and various other stuff. And then the usual, all the wrestlers come into the ring and do the intros. And yes, the classics are kind of skipping around these major events, and the little guide of matches I have from, classic 70, I think it's like 74 to 100. It's very loose in what it covers, and I'm just essentially watching all that I can find mixed in with the classics, and we're just kind of going and filling in the gaps here. So I watched the whole Wrestlemarinepiad show, and here we go. Opening match. Etsuko Mita, the Giant, at like 5'9", or 5'10"? 5'10". Numachi, the gardener jobber, and Tomoko Watanabe defeating the LLPW trio of Carol Midori, not in her leather jacket quite yet, Michiko Futagami, not in her Kyoko Inoue cosplay yet, and Mizuki Endo, who is still pretty bad in the ring. Oh boy. One tough things about these old AJW shows and old Joshi in general are these excessively long fodder matches with lower end talent. This match had no business being 19 minutes. Poor Mita in there with nothing to work with. Midori, I like Carol Midori. She's getting better, but Midori and Endo haven't gotten any good yet at this point in time, and Ngami is incredibly dull in the ring. And then having Numachi as a teammate, this is just an impossible task. That said, Mita the Giant throwing these scrubs around was the highlight. Right at the 10-minute mark, the crowd reacted finally to something, and that was when Tomoko started throwing haymakers to Gami. And Tomoko worked pretty hard, to be fair. She did a couple moonsault presses near the end and finally pinned Endo with like a peach sunrise situation. Shout out Momo Watanabe on that one. God-awful long match. And then we got another match that was kind of the tale of two stories here. It's a Captain's Fall 8-man tag. It's a JWP team, which I was a big fan of this JWP team. It's Bolshoi Kid, Cutie Suzuki, who's named the captain, Hikari Fukuoka, and Plum Mariko. What a hell of a team of not main eventers for JWP, but god damn it, I wish they were. They take on and defeat Chaprito Sari, Chikako Shiratori, Kaoru Ito, and Mima Shimoda. 28 minutes this went. This was a long one. Always something seeing many of these wrestlers come to the ring in like full-on dresses for their entrance gear. Notably, Hikari Fukuoka gets a big crowd reaction in her intro, and Cutie gets a lot of reaction from women in particular. So the JWP squad here, very much bigger fan favorites, or at least those two are. This match had good pace. Hikari worked especially hard and well, and it's no wonder she's getting the most reactions. That Grand Prix run she had definitely opened a lot of eyes to her. Everything she does has like pop and vigor, moonsaults, front drop kicks, springboard, high cross bodies. I mean, she's literally a Manami Toyota clone by design with a little more muscle to her, but I love it, and she's getting better, and she's slowly developing into her own sort of wrestler. But we saw the same reaction with AJW with when Cutie Suzuki started taking off into more of a mainstream. You know, they had the idea behind Takako Inoue and a few others really trying to clone Cutie Suzuki and what she was about. So it's no shock that JWP looks at probably Manami Toyota being the most athletic high-end wrestler that AJW has, and they're like, be her. Do what she's doing. She's getting a lot of reaction there. So, let's see here. First elimination comes off a massive pop from Asari hitting the Sky Twister on Bolshoi, so that was real good action there, and sequences getting to that point. Then it's more great action from Hikari until she gets eliminated by Ito, of all people. Look, there is no one who's just more one-dimensional and a nothing wrestler as Kaoru Ito. I can't believe my eyes when I'm watching her. And she's just always being put in these situations, and I just see no development from her. No development in gear, no development in ring, no charisma. I don't get it. I don't see it. Crowd pops hard for Cutie Suzuki, quickly making short work of both Shiratori and Asari. Even does a sick dragon suplex to eliminate, I believe it's Shiratori there. Shiratori she's like between, if I look at LLPW from those Patreon reviews, there's Nagashima and who's the other one? Well, we'll stick with Nagashima. Shiratori is very much in that realm of the white meat babyface, white dress, white swimsuit, pretty skinny and a little bit slender kind of build, and she's very much of that ilk. And not that that's a bad thing at all. Just can't wait to see what she's bringing. She looks like she's getting better in the ring too. So we got Cutie facing off against Shimoda, but then the match just comes to a crawl. It just goes nowhere for just minutes on end, which is a shame because I was really digging this match. So it comes down to Cutie Plum versus Shimoda and Ito. Shimoda just dumps Cutie with a backdrop right on her neck and follows up with a crossbody to the floor. On all of the JWP people. Crowd reacts every time for Cutie going for that dragon suplex. Big near fall stretch here involving Shimoda and Plum. Scary finish where Plum Mariko does a Frankensteiner off the top, but she overflips, cracks the back of her head on the top buckle. She does somehow at least pull this off, and then she pins Shimoda, of all people, so Karito does not eat a fall in this Captain's Fall match. Overall, solid match with a tough kind of second middle half there and a good finishing stretch. I'm in between a 1 or 2 out of 3 recommendation here. It's just that slowdown period was pretty baffling. Okay. LLPW duo of Shinobu Kandori and Yasha Kurenai taking on and defeating Saki Asagawa and Takako Inoue. Only went 11 minutes. It's a scramble beatdown in the entryway to start the match, so it's got a hot start. Beginning of the match, Kandori locks on an armbar on Takako, but lets go early and does the big finger wag Dikembe Mutombo style, not over, bring it on gesture. Crowd just pops so hard for this, and it's interesting because she never really does this in LLPW until like early to mid 94. But in AJW, she just has this sort of cocky attitude all the time. Almost like she sees AJW as the major league competition, and then her own promotion is just kind of the kick around and do shit thing. But regardless, Kandori has really found herself in situations like this across 93 and into 94. Her shooter stick has really caught on when she puts herself in these situations. Great finish here as we see a hot run from Hasegawa, jump kicking Yasha, but Kandori gets in. She gets her in a big sleeper choke. Kandori is taunting and begging Takako to get in the ring as she chokes out Hasegawa for the win. Yasha is indeed holding Takako back in the ropes, so great finish here. Dick Cocky Kandori is just phenomenal. I enjoyed this, just a little short. Bull Nakano and Reggie Bennett defeat Suzuka Minami and Yumika Hota. Another 11-minute match. This was a fine time allocation here. Reggie Bennett. Okay, if you are not familiar with Reggie Bennett, she is a big woman. She's about 5'10". She's twice the size of Bull Nakano at this point in time. And picture this in your mind. Construction worker Misty from Pokemon. That kind of thing. But Reggie Bennett working big here against Minami while Hota no-sells her basically. It's Yumika Hota. I'm so done with her. She is slowly gaining a little bit more popularity, getting put in higher positions, but I don't see it. It's the same with Karuhito. Weird start and weird dynamic, though. I believe this is Bennett's first match in AJW, and like most of Ogawa, he's got his tells. His booking is the immediate push and highlight of Reggie Bennett here. She's bigger and stronger than anyone else in the ring, and her being the one to get Suzuka to tap to a torture rack, of all things, this early is a big glaring sign of her success to come. Love the torture rack finish. Very unique, and it's going to be one of Reggie Bennett's calling cards for a while here. Next match, Kyoko Inoue defeats Devil Masami. Yes, Devil Masami making another big singles match return to AJW. 19 minutes, 51 seconds this went. Look, Masami changed up her style to being more of a brooding, slower veteran compared to the AJW Go style that she used to do. In many ways, it's hard-hitting and more representative of a style close to kind of what we see today, honestly. On the other hand, it gets a little too slow. Too many holds to be an exciting match. You know, I have this same critique to Noriyota Tano matches in LOPW, and even last episode with her singles match against Bull Nakano. This one, I think, was much more exciting, for sure. Kyoko Inoue is, she's hit or miss in her singles matches, mostly because she has her one gear and moves to go to no matter the opponent. But this was half Kyoko against the grain and got some levels of excitement when flying more. But she went to the mat game with Masami, I think, a little too often here. Masami, I'd like to see more of her 80s samurai sword era type intensity. She's pure wrestling too much here with that brooding shtick rather than kind of the hard hitter giant that we kind of used to see. And man, I had like a crisis here of just Devil Masami looks like she's huge, but she's only like 5'8" or 5, and yeah, I think she's only like 5'8". I'm like, no way. I could have sworn she was like 5'10", 5'11", not even close. And I'm like comparing Himika to Yumiko Hota, and I'm trying to get like height comparisons. Devil Masami the giant, like not even close to how tall I thought she was. Moment of crisis. I apologize. But yes, a strong middle and a very strong finish sees Masami hit multiple power bombs, has a barrage of forearms, spinning forearms, lariats. She goes for the spinning lariat to see Kyoko kind of counter and hitting a Code Red type move for the roll-up shock win. This was good. Definitely, I thought a little too slow and long in parts, but I'm still going 2 out of 3 recommendation. This was fantastic. I love this. And I believe, let's see here. Let's see. Big Dave watched some matches. He went 3.5 on the Kendori Kurenai match. That seems about right. Maybe even 3. Did not rate the Devil Masami match. Okay. Manami Toyota defeats Mayumi Ozaki, 20 minutes, 16 seconds. Big Dave rated this one, and he went a full 4 stars on this guy. Only 9 votes on the cage match at my time of recording here, so I might have to fix that one. Hopefully more people that listen to this go and rate these matches on this particular show. Easy show to find on YouTube, by the way. This started out fairly frantic, but quickly delved into full stretch mode here with big move to counter transition pace. And when I say stretch mode, I mean they're on the mat stretching each other. They're working for pace. This is where I noticed Manami Toyota and the just incredible shape she's in. Her shoulders are well defined, legs are toned, biceps and triceps are strong. I think maybe the gear also accentuated those arm muscles. Basically, I am saying Toyota is full beast now. All right. Ozaki does have control for quite some time, and somehow she's even able to hit some powerbomb type move. And naturally, there's a good walk and brawl. Seeing Toyota scoop slam Ozaki on the hard ground. Big pop from the crowd on that one. They kind of scream when people just get slammed on the mat or slammed on the bare cement floor. It's something you kind of see people do in modern wrestling, but they'll scoop slam them, but then they'll keep hold of them until they're like an inch off the ground, and then they'll let go and make the motion that they hit them hard. This one, it's just slam, normal, like there's a mat there. It's no wonder people scream back then and not now, but I think I prefer the illusion that it hurts. Let's see. Where's mine? Where did I leave off on my notes? Ah, yes. Okay, I'm talking about Ozaki. She's not the flashiest ring game wrestler, but look, Toyota drop kicks herself out of the ring as in she misses and flies through. And Ozaki's does the cork flip off the ropes to the floor. It's good. It's real good. The final stretch of this match was just fantastic. The crowd ends up getting immensely behind Ozaki with each kick out and counter off Toyota. And this is a recurring theme with Ozaki. So she's pretty, she's small, she's got the frilly red kind of gear going on. People want to cheer for this woman, and yet she's always ends up the heel. It's just kind of wacky how it ends up that way. Even gets to the point where Ozaki escapes multiple JOCs to hit a half Nelson suplex bridge for a great near fall. The crowd just completely turns to Ozaki. And there's a moment where Toyota is in the middle of the ring. She's looking around. She can't believe the reaction that's happening here. And then she just signals, all right, I'm putting away, motherfuckers. And puts her away with the JOC shortly after that. I'm going full 3 out of 3 on this one. Very compelling match. This was great. Fully agree with the Big Dave stars here on this. And we got our last 2 matches here, and there isn't a whole lot to talk about here. It's just kind of straightforward, but look, Dynamite Kansai defeats Toshio Yamada, 19 minutes, 43 seconds. Look, it's Yamada and Toyota against Kansai and Ozaki, you know, the big Dream Slam tag feud there and tag titles, and here they are on this show with singles matches. I like this dynamic. I really do. And I like this match. No Big Dave stars in this one, but I thought this was what they wanted the Kansai Hota match to be, but Yamada's just, I think, a better worker and more compelling wrestler. Lots of kicks working with the big moves and comebacks in between. The pace was much faster. Looked like these two just worked better with each other. We do end up with a Splash Mountain pinning Yamada. It's, I know I'm not going into a whole lot of detail here, unlike the Toyota Ozaki match, but I mean, you picture in your head Kansai and Yamada, it's exactly what that match is going to be. It's Yamada doing a lot of, jumping enziguris. It's Kansai doing a lot of stiff kicking, and she was not put on the ground a lot in this match, which I think was much better than the Hota match. Look, 2 out of 3. I rather enjoyed this. I thought it was great. And this show is really good. It's just a couple of those match times that may get to you. So finally, a Kansai match I liked. Hey, how about that? Aja Kong versus Akira Hokuto. Not for the red belt. So this is interesting. It's got an 8.21 on 13 votes on Cage Match. But Big Dave gave this 2.5 stars. Now, he did preface that it was a clipped version from TV that he saw. So he admits it's maybe not a totally fair star rating. But here's the thing. Hokuto cannot move. She has broken down completely. And to go along with the rumors that she's basically retiring at the end of this year. She got married to the dude in Mexico, I believe, at this time. Her first marriage. She's got a busted back she's healing from. She just had major knee surgery, and she's already back in a month's time. There's no way this woman should be in a ring, okay? And they do the pre-match promos, going over making it an untitled due to her leg. Bull Nakano's on comms, looking like she's on the brink of tears. Aja Kong's kind of looking like she's on the brink of tears as they're doing their pre-match promos. And we go into the match. First 2 moves of the match is Kong charging. She goes over the top to the floor because Hokuto ducks. And Hokuto immediately does the flipping senton off the top to the floor, followed by a big front drop kick into the ring for a near fall. It's a big start, and the crowd's super into it. Hokuto's getting everybody into it. And then the remainder of this 20-minute match is essentially just Kong working the knee of Hokuto on the mat. It's extremely boring. There's nothing happening. Kong is not a limb worker. And they try to make drama in this match. They even do the doctor checkup mid-match in the ring for the knee to really put over like the legit shoot injury she's got. But look, big spot thrown in there, top rope powerbomb by Kong, countered into a Frankensteiner pin attempt for a near fall. A little more beatdown until Hokuto hits a Northern Lights bomb for a last-ditch effort. Look, it's slow, it's no good, but at least there's an attempt to be dramatic. So I do give some credit there. They do as much as they could, mix in some believable near falls for Hokuto in particular, but match just ends very anticlimactically with Kong hitting the flipping like backdrop off the top where she splats him. Very disappointing, but look, it's not unexpected due to the state Hokuto's knee is in and her back. I gotta agree with kind of Big Dave here. Maybe not 2.5 low, but you know, I can't see going over 3. It was just this 20-minute match of a hurt knee. Maybe it is 2.5 stars. I'm certainly not convinced it's higher. Unlike I think these cage match ratings just see Aja Kong and Akira Hokuto in a singles match and are like, it's fucking great. How could it be bad? Well, it's kind of bad when one person can't like actually walk. But post-match Kong, she's now basically in tears, and she commends Hokuto for her fighting spirit and whatnot, putting her over. And Hokuto does not really take much time off here. She's continuing to run tours, and we're going to see her in a few matches. We got Tag League coming. I went over a few episodes ago with what those teams look like and where we're going to go. I am going to get that show with the end of Tag League for sure, but for the remainder of this point in October to the end of December is Tag League for AJW. That is their tour they're running, and I believe there's still the Osaka Joe Hall show that AJW is running, and a Sumo Hall show, which is the first time women's promotions running Sumo Hall in 93, which is quite amazing considering the alleged bigger boom in popularity that AJW had in the late 70s and 80s. And the reality is that the industry still had its stigma, and it remains to have its stigma for AJW, and it wasn't until Rasi Ogawa kind of got the book, essentially, where he wanted to run wrestling arenas to the wrestling crowd, and that's what helped business grow and business essentially be stable in a market that was going through an economic crash, like slowly and surely. And that'll do it for AJW episode Classic 81. Remember, share AJW Destiny, share Red Leaf Retrocast, check out the Patreon, and we shall move on from here. WCW Nitro, the second Nitro of the Vince Russo era. Tanner, this show sucks.
How's it going? It's so this is what this, like you said, the second episode of Nitro for the Vince Russo era, and we're coming off the heels of Halloween Havoc, which was less Halloween and more Havoc than anything else, I would say.
Yeah, so last episode we reviewed that pay-per-view that we didn't pay for.
No.
And the big...
Well, we did. We did, but we didn't pay the full, $39.99 or whatever it was.
It was $49.99 back then?
Was it?
I think. That number sounds right to me. We're going to go with that.
Okay.
It's about as accurate as how I'm going to recap this, because this show is impossible to retain information.
So yeah, we're gonna do our best. I can't attest to the quality of this, but we're gonna do our best.
Oh boy! But the big thing coming out of Halloween Havoc, I guess, was the Filthy Animals feuding with Ric Flair. Obviously, that's number one. No other thing mattered.
Mm-hmm.
No,
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Hulk Hogan laid down in the middle of the ring in work boots, got pinned, and then Sting did an open challenge that may be for the title, and he lost to Goldberg.
Well, yes. So, yeah.
So is Goldberg going to come out as double champion? Is the big question.
I mean, one would presume, correct? Well, one would have to assume.
Sting came for a fight, he said. But he never said it was for the title. Oh.
Yeah, he says that WCW never sanctioned the title being on the line in the match. And JJ Dillon, being the babyface that he is, rightfully agreed with Sting.
Yeah. You know what, Sting? You're right. I'm the asshole here.
I was just trying to save the pay-per-view.
God. And that's all they addressed for Hulk Hogan for the entire night.
Yeah.
Sting he saved from the Hogan situation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now JJ Dillon does go on to say that he believes that Sting is also not the true champion either.
Which
not
makes
the
no
rightful
sense.
champion, at least.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. So in true Vince Russo fashion here, for Monday Night Nitro, I almost called it Monday Night Raw. For Monday Night Nitro, we are vacating the World Heavyweight Championship and doing a 32-man tournament. Sting will, of course, be a participant, and so will Goldberg, one would assume, right?
You would assume that, yes.
And we are given some tournament brackets, or at least one tournament side bracket.
I have all the names here, but what I really want to show or tell the audience is how long all these matches were. Because holy shit. How to make me not care for a tournament in one night is what this was. All right, Phoenix, Arizona. Here we go. How many people showed up to this terrible show? 9,600 people. I don't believe that. That's 3 cage match reviews, a 9, a 5, and a 0. That's phenomenal. Okay, so I'm just going to run all these
9.
down. Yeah. Who gave this the 9? All right, hold on. There's no
that
review.
9 is an outlier.
Yeah, there's no written review. The 0 has one. But anyways, so we have. Wait, it's also for the the U.S. title. The Goldberg match was. I don't recall that.
Yes. So.
What?
Sorry. So here's the thing that we find during this tournament here is that while these matchups are specifically for the tournament, they also do quite a lot of like stipulation matches and stuff like that are completely outside the realm of it being about the title tournament. So like we get I hate to spoil it, but
that's okay.
because Benoit and Malenko are feuding, we get a Benoit and Malenko cage match that also happens to be a tournament match, right?
No, it's a last man standing match, isn't it?
Well, there is a cage match at some point that's part of the.
Oh, that must be later.
Tournament. Let me see.
Yeah, we're both getting sick just reviewing this.
No,
the cage match is like, I guess it's got to be like next week on Nitro or on Thunder or something.
I must be misremembering it then.
There's definitely no cage match on this show.
Okay, yeah, you're right. This one is the last man standing one, but I could have sworn there was a cage match involved somewhere along the way. But yeah, this one, last man standing match.
All right, so
none of the other matches are last man standing. That's the point. None of the other matches necessarily have that same gimmick, but there could be something else. It could be that could be about this tournament.
Right.
I don't know.
But I have the brackets / names. Bret Hart,
Yes.
Goldberg, Perry Saturn, Eddie Guerrero, Norman Smiley, Bam Bam Bigelow, Billy Kidman, Conan, Total Package, Rick Steiner, Diamond Dallas Page, David Flair, not Ric Flair, question marks, Medusa,
Mhm.
Brian Knobs, and Sting.
Mm. Yeah. Makes sense. Total package. Total package is there.
Okay, so here's the results. This is going to be the easiest way. Here's the results
Okay.
and match times of this exclusive 32-man tournament.
Well, that's 16. We're at least getting half the bracket.
Okay, all right. Norman Smiley defeats Bam Bam Bigelow in a hardcore match in a minute and a half. Perry Saturn defeats Eddie Guerrero in 3 minutes 40 seconds. Not a hardcore match. Mang defeats Medusa in 2.5 minutes in watching just man-on-woman violence, which I'm sure in 1999 went over very well.
Yeah.
The Total Package defeated Rick Steiner by count out in 3 minutes. Kidman defeats Conan in a minute 53.
Nice.
Sting defeats Brian Knobs. Does not say hardcore match, but if we remember, he hits him with a bat and pins him in 13 seconds. David Flair versus DDP goes to a no contest because, violence. Very upset.
Well, but why does how like now this has me worried. Like, how's this tournament going to go if there's a no contest in the middle of it? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it does not. And then Bret Hart defeats Goldberg in the main event for, I guess, the U.S. title as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that went 7.5 minutes. So hold on to your butts. What a long one.
Mm-hmm. Very long Nitro match.
Good God. Who could possibly care after watching all these short, just shenanigans?
I don't know, man. I mean, that's that whole Crash TV philosophy, right? Is, just like make stuff happen. Make the crowd tune in, no matter how egregious or just contextually inappropriate or societally inappropriate, as the Medusa and Ming match would have been, or would certainly be viewed in today's eyes at the very least. It's just ridiculous stuff. Just throw stuff at the wall and see if it works.
There was definitely a lot thrown at the wall. Let's see. Of the things I remember the most on the show, it would probably have to be Kevin Nash and Scott Hall drunk backstage drinking, doing what would it be called? It would be like, we're gonna reveal at the top of the hour, we're gonna wrestle at the top. They're making us wrestle.
Yeah.
Give me another beer. And they're drunk like the whole show, just talking about the top of the hour is when they're gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
So hooray, ratings. A lot of references to the new owners, the powers that be up north.
The powers, yeah.
Yeah.
Powers that be.
And holy
Yeah.
shit, did I remember Jeff Jarrett? Did I remember Jeff Jarrett? Good old Double J coming out. He's the chosen one. Fuck, it was like his promo on AEW that I heard right before I turned it off.
Oh, yeah. What do you think of Double J in AEW? Just
He's caused me to stop watching the show altogether. I haven't seen a single minute of AEW Dynamite since he showed up.
Wow.
That's what
incredible.
I think of him.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. He's he's certainly divisive, at the very least.
I think the people that like him are just in straight denial. I listen to Meltzer and he goes, probably shouldn't have a show revolving any segments or revolving around a 50-year-old Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
I don't disagree. I do think that he's more of a peripheral figure, but that whole group seems to be on the periphery. Well, I say that, and now they're having a tag team title match. So, I don't know.
Yeah, he sure is, isn't he?
Hmm.
Don't watch that show. Anyways, so we get let's see, Norman Smiley cut a bad promo.
Yeah. Let's see here. I have to scroll all the way back from my notes. This is exactly what I'm talking about here. Perfect example. So Norman is obviously, not very pleased that this is a match against Bam Bam Bigelow right off the bat here to start his tournament. But Bam Bam takes it to the further degree and makes it a hardcore match. So it is a tournament match that's also a hardcore match. There you go. This is exactly what you would expect. It's 90% Bam Bam, just destroying Norman Smiley. Norman, screaming and writhing in pain, and Norman Smiley does get Norman does get a miraculous victory here, just kind of out of nowhere. More comedy than anything else, but it's pretty. I'll say of all the matches, it's very funny to watch.
I guess. I'm out of nowhere, Kurt Hennig's cutting a promo, and he's saying the powers that be say that they gotta cut the roster. He's on the chopping block, getting out the olds, and if his shoulders get pinned to the mat 1, 2, 3, he's fired. So he's gonna do everything he can to not let his shoulders get pinned to the mat 1, 2, 3. So he goes out, has a 2-minute match with Lash LaRue, and then hits him with a chair for the DQ. His shoulders were not indeed pinned to the mat.
Yeah. I guess they are trying to get some of the old regime out, yet still they love Hall and Nash, apparently.
They sure do.
They're all over this. They're all over this show.
Just all the time. Top of the hour. Can't comment. Mike Graham, whatever. Boy, if you just don't know who Mike Graham is or don't recognize that name, you have no idea who they're talking about.
I still don't. I didn't even care to look further into it. I was like, this is probably some inside thing. I'm just gonna, skip past it.
Yeah.
What were they referring to?
They're just talking nonsense. They're gonna comment over wrestling at the top of the hour. Mike Graham, blah blah blah. I was like, I don't know.
Huh. Okay. So the Mike Graham line will remain a mystery.
Yeah, much like Hulk Hogan, why he lied down in the ring at a pay-per-view.
Yeah. Though I mean that one's kind of more on the nose, don't you think? Like with I'm certain he didn't want to work for Vince Russo. He was probably like, F this, I'm out. I just don't want to put up with all this.
I'd normally say yes, but I think it's just because he had the creative control and he's like, I'm not dropping the title, brother. I'm not putting Sting over.
or he's not winning the title in this case.
Oh,
so
right. He didn't even have the title. I think he probably wanted the title and was probably promised it with his babyface comeback. And then Russo came in and was like, nah, keep it on Sting.
No, we're going to do a tournament. Bro.
Yeah, you can hear it. Okay, so Tori Wilson's out there in a big silver outfit like she's going to ride a spaceship in an early 2000s movie, looking real good. She gets kidnapped at some point in the middle of the show, and I don't quite remember anything else other than that.
Let's see. Let me see here.
I mean, there's a long Filthy Animals promo where they just kind of ramble about having bad catchphrases. Oh, the Revolution kidnapper. That's right, and that's what kind of sort of leads to the whole Benoit, Malenko, and blah blah.
Yeah, there's a few added elements here. So she gets kidnapped, and I think we learn more about it next week. It's not. I'm not seeing. I am aware of the story, but I'm not seeing anything in my notes from any follow up of what happened beyond it on this episode, at the very least.
Yeah. So let's see here. More filthy animals, more Revolution. Hull and Nash don't want to fight some more. I remember this line. Nash has an idea. He's going to strip naked in the ring. Ha 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 ha.
I like your laugh there.
Okay. Let's see. Randy Savage and Gorgeous George come out randomly.
Yes.
He talked about Russo, and he's not going to hang himself on TV, and
yeah, he cuts this like shoot promo.
And then he says, what does he say? He says he has someone who's going to take this company, do big business, do big ratings, and be a better champion than him. And then he leaves. Probably the most interesting thing on the show, because it was filled with mystery.
Yeah, he makes allusions to this person who's going to be a great champion, but
is it Dustin Rhodes?
Oh God! Like it was like he was playing this up to be a big reveal, and then he just leaves, and there's no reveal to it. So we're all kind of just left in bewilderment.
Yeah, world titles, record ratings, better than he was.
Yeah. He does make a funny reference here to a nod to Hogan and Flair, saying the red and yellow and Space Mountain have played themselves out, but Savage is still legit.
Yeah. This review I'm reading here says we actually won't get our answer for 6 months.
Hey, long-term storytelling there, right? Am I right? You guys?
Oh, yeah. Medusa gets beaten up by Meng.
Yeah.
Evan Courageous came out to check on her.
Right, exactly. And then yeah. Evan Courageous saves the day for Medusa. And then we get that segment actually bleeds into Dean Malenko challenging Chris Benoit for their match tonight to be a last man standing match. There's no connection here. That's just really how this part of the show went.
Okay, let's speed run through here. Let's see. We got Brad Armstrong and Hennig talking about getting a personality.
Yes.
Let's see. Some filthy animals come out. Jeff Jarrett. Comes out, and what happens? I turned around for a second. He bonked somebody. Liz was holding her ankle, and then Lex Luger got back in the ring to avoid the count out. Good enough?
Where did you go?
I went down to Total Package Rick Steiner. I skipped over.
You skipped the Total Package Rick Steiner and went to the Filthy Animals match?
No, I just went to the finish, and now we're on the Filthy Animals.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what happened?
Yeah, don't worry about it. Look, it makes as much sense as the show.
Got lost in my notes here for a minute there. Yeah.
You got lost reading the script there, bro?
Yeah, man. I got very lost. So the Filthy Animals match. Yeah. This was Now this does bleed into kind of the story from I guess Halloween Havoc. So there is some carryover here. Harlem Heat does make an appearance here. I guess to get some a little bit of revenge, it seems.
Sure. Is that what we're going with? Is that the storyline?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what it looks like here. At least, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see if there's more to this on next week's episode.
Sure. Buff Bagwell comes out. He says, "Ooh, it's actually all written down here. Here we go. He's going to start breaking all the rules and doesn't care about all the sacred things in this business. Last week was the last time he'll do a job for the two idiots in the back writing this nonsense." And then the Harris brothers come out. I could not believe I even recognized these guys.
Yeah. Did you get their name? Their new name?
Yeah, they're no, they don't say who they are yet, but I do know who they become.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's the Harris brothers. They say,
yes.
You don't get it, Buff. We work for those two guys writing this nonsense, and they beat the shit out of Buff Bagwell. And I have to reveal who they name these two dorks. Creative Control is their tag team name.
Yeah. This is just great. Really good stuff.
Okay. Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit had a 7-minute last man standing match. Did you rip off your t-shirt in excitement?
Yeah, no, I mean, if there was a believable pairing of who could have a 7-minute last man standing match, then I think it would be Malenko and Benoit, or at least more so Benoit, at any rate. But yeah, I mean, this was this was fine. They both gave it a pretty good effort here. Not their best match.
No,
but
it's
the effort's there.
They had a wrestling match.
Yeah,
just straight up, and then they do a double clothesline spot, and Benoit only beats the count. So
yeah,
I applaud these two men because on half-hour notice they have to go out and try to make the best of a last man standing match, and they just probably stare at each other and went, "How about we just do a match and then it ends on this this double spot?" And they're just like, "Thumbs up, brother." They don't have to work too hard. They don't have to hit each other with shit. They don't got to do nothing.
Yeah.
They didn't even have to get up in gear. They came out in jeans and t-shirts.
Yeah. Or Russo came up with it and it was like, "Hey, this is how I want. This is what I want the finish to be."
No, he had no idea.
Just, are you sure?
Yeah, definitely not. No,
Oh.
Vince Russo just wanted a last man standing match.
Okay. Yeah, maybe so. I guess this was the best way that they knew how to kind of get themselves out of a pickle.
Yeah. So let's see here. There is the kidnapping scene involving Tori, Asia, Revolution, Filthy Animals. They yell at each other, then they run away.
Yeah. The Filthy Animals basically chase after the Revolution into the parking lot, and then they all get into cars and then they leave. They both speed away. The Filthy Animals chasing the Revolution.
Let's see. A lot of nonsense happens. We've kind of already discussed a lot of this. Now let's see. Tag title match. A tag title match does indeed happen. Kidman and Conan defeat Harlem Heat in 5 minutes. So you said Harlem Heat's out for revenge. Well, they failed.
Yeah, that didn't go according to plan for the Filthy Animals, it seems.
That's about all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. It's good stuff. Not a good match,
it's
but
not good stuff.
Not a good match, but you know, if you're in for entertainment value, this certainly was something.
This show got a 3.5 rating. What did last week's Nitro get? It got, drum roll please as it loads, 3.3. Ooh, slightly higher. Slightly higher. What about
just a marginal improvement?
Yeah,
you know?
and then earlier in October, let's just go back another week. Let's go back 2 weeks. Let's get that 3 week at running average here. 2.6. So it's certainly better.
Yeah, it's not bad. You know, you're getting somewhere here.
Well, okay. So, I mean, that's a full point higher. I can maths.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we got what? 2 more things to recap here.
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, depending on your point of view. So there's the DDP David Flair match, which, yeah,
kind of,
yeah. Let's see here. So the notes that I'm seeing here from that I have, basically Kimberly gets on the mic and basically says Paige wants Flair out of the ring and grabs him by the neck before kissing him on the cheek. He makes the mistake of turning his back on David, and David basically beats up Paige with a crowbar, if I'm understanding this correctly.
I remember the crowbar.
Yeah.
And I remember he went up to hit Kimberly, and then he got some sort of emotion on his face. I don't think it was the right one. And he didn't hit her.
I guess they're doing a DDP injury angle here.
Sure, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So the outsiders come out. And remember, earlier in the show, Goldberg says, he only makes promises. They're next.
Yeah.
Okay, so the outsiders in the ring. Creative Control comes out, but they step aside, and a couple hot chicks come out to, I don't know, jiggle their boobs around a little bit.
Nice. Yeah.
The powers at B are looking for ratings, and they're going to get them, says Scott Hall, I think. Or did Tony Schiavone say that? Someone on comms or in the ring said it. I don't remember. I remember hearing the line. So it's
sounds about right.
Yeah, so it's a comedy match. They rub boobs into Hall and Ash's face. Hall does the flare flop, which I laughed at. And Goldberg comes out and spears them both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is exactly kind of what you want out of this, right? You know, Goldberg making his presence known. You got some boobage. That's cool. No, I'm just. I mean, it is what it is, guys. You know, this again is Vince Russo's second ever Nitro, making his presence felt here. With just some random nonsense.
And then we got the last match where, if you had any doubt that Bret Hart is isn't one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, here you go. This man does not care who's booking this show. He's going to cut promos about his hurt leg. He's going to cut promos about being the best babyface ever. It's for the world title. I'm going to go out there and give it the good old try. I'm not going to give up. Goldberg comes out, big entrance. Bret Hart doesn't give up no matter how much Goldberg works the leg. Commentary's all over this. He knows Bret Hart isn't going to give up, so I have to beat him senseless. That's what they're doing.
Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, it really is to Bret Hart's credit here that, I mean, for this whole entire era that I can recall, at least, that he really kind of was this shining light for WCW. In all honesty, he was really kind of on point, and really trying to give it his best effort. It's just a shame what the timing was.
So they kind of allude throughout the show that Sid Vicious is going to come back and he's going to take out Goldberg, and that kind of like he comes out. He oh yeah, there was a, let's see, was the ref thrown? Yeah. So the Outsiders come down, they take the ref out. Not a DQ. And then Sid takes out Goldberg. I think it's like, no, it's all three of them. They beat up Goldberg, and then Hart just kind of rolls up onto him, right? Is that right? So the finish is like really shitty, but hey.
Yeah. Yeah, they give the assist to Brett, and Brett's able to beat Goldberg here. Yeah, I'm sure there's no, shady kind of meanings behind any of that. I'm sure it's all above board. I'm sure we're not going to have any follow-up here.
No, and now Goldberg has lost both his titles in 24 hours.
Man. Oh, not even 24, 2. He lost his, or 3, rather. Okay, I guess it's 2 for us, thankfully.
Yeah, well,
I
guess it would be 3 hours. Or not.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, Nitro starts at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time and ends at 10, I think.
Sure. Oh, my God. So what was your favorite thing on the show, Tanner? Huh? Lots of choices.
The end. the ending part. I mean, I think there's little bits and pieces sprinkled throughout. Again, as terrible as this all is, there is some entertainment value that you can take away from this, right? I think Brett obviously looked really, really good, despite all of the nonsense in the match. I could really do without all the filthy animals and Revolution stuff on this episode. The Medusa Ming thing was just like egregious. like there's no reason for that. Or I guess, is that maybe revenge for her not wanting to do the yeah. Okay. Well,
man on woman violence.
Still,
ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Still, it's hilarious, right?
Oh my God, so funny.
And you can't really take away from the Bam Bam Bigelow Norman Smiley match at the beginning either. I thought that was actually pretty funny.
Oh God, just hit my head on the mic. Jesus. Oh my God.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay.
Okay.
I like Bret Hart. That's what I like.
Yeah, Bret Hart. Bret Hart's good.
He's the only one. He's the only hero that we need.
Yeah, he really does save everyone from the Russo stuff for as long as he could.
He tries.
As long as he could. Yeah.
Probably because he was the only one that's like worked with him prior, and he just tells him no.
Yeah, he's like, just shut up. Why don't you shut up, okay, Vince? Not doing this.
I already told one Vince to shove it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the end of this episode.
Doing it again.
Tanner, we'll see you next week for more Russo Nitro.
Yeah, man. It'll be a great time.
All right.